Chapter 663. Within a radius of a few hundred meters, there were countless small caves. When people entered, they would not even be able to straighten their backs. Every cave was connected to each other. There were countless of them, just like an ant's nest. But after entering, one would discover a completely different world. On the smooth and flat stone walls, there were large murals painted in gold. Flying creatures, mythical beasts, spiritual birds, flowers, birds, insects, fish. The colors were magnificent, and the ink was exquisite. On the top of every cave, there was a luminous pearl that was overflowing with light. The steps carved from jade were sparkling and translucent. It was actually made of ice-type jade, and the edges were pasted with gold leaf. These murals, luminous pearls, and even the gold leaf, if taken out, each of them would be worth millions. Even if he was once the young master of the Nye family, and enjoyed all the glory and wealth, he rarely saw them. In each of the hundreds of death cells in the caves, there were some strange people living there. Perhaps because they were imprisoned for too long, they were already half human and half ghost, but they seemed to be very strong. When he reached the innermost part of the nest, Nye Mingyuan saw an even more shocking scene. A blood pool. In a cave cell, there was a huge blood pool with a radius of 10 meters. The blood in the pool did not have the slightest ripple, as if it had solidified. It was so thick that it was black, and the smell of blood was suffocating. Beside the blood pool, there was a tall man sitting there. This person's curly golden hair and beard covered his face, and it was so long that it touched the ground. Perhaps because it had not been washed for too long, it had already become clumps of hair. Only now did Nye Mingyuan understand why his senior brother gave him a big bottle of fresh blood that had just been drawn from the cicadere before he came up the mountain. Trembling with fear, he went forward and carefully handed it over. That person did not move at all, sitting there like a dead tree. Trash. All useless trash. Suddenly, an ear-piercing strange laughter like the cry of an owl sounded behind Nye Mingyuan. Nye Mingyuan was so scared that he fell to the ground, but he saw an even more terrifying scene. In the cave opposite the blood pool prison, on a high platform paved with countless pieces of brightly colored tiger skin, sat an old man with a withered face. This old man had chicken skin and crane head, and all his hair was gone. His toothless mouth was shriveled, and his ribs were clearly protruding, like steep and cold mountain peaks. What was even more terrifying was that he had no limbs, and even no buttocks. It should be said that his torso had been slashed by a sharp weapon from below his chest. His face was decaying and covered with grayish-brown age spots. He was lifeless and had no signs of life. Only the occasional round of his eyes proved that he was a living creature. He was obviously very short, like the bark of a tree, but he gave people a feeling of arrogance and disdain. It was as if everything in the world was but an ant in his eyes. "Senior, your food." At that time, Nye Mingyuan suppressed his fear and crawled up. He handed over a porcelain bowl with a steamed bun and a bowl of water. "Chen Onping gives me a steamed bun and a bowl of water every year. I'd rather not have them." The old man cackled strangely. His voice was like a knife cutting through the bottom of a pot, ear-piercing and dry. His eyes suddenly shot out a sharp, cruel and crazy light that seemed to have materialized. Bang! The porcelain bowl in Nye Mingyuan's hand shattered into pieces. Later, Nye Mingyuan finally realized that the old man's meridians and acupoints had long been damaged. At this time, his gaze had shattered his porcelain bowl. He had only relied on pure mental strength, a real earth immortal. Later on, he even found out that the old man had not eaten for decades. Every day, he absorbed some water vapor, the spiritual energy in the luminous pearls and jade to nourish his body. He also did not have an excretory system. He used some kind of secret method to force the impurities out of his body. When Nye Mingyuan had a better understanding of cultivation, he was even more amazed by the old man's various magical powers. Nye Mingyuan had been with them for a long time and gradually understood their temperament. The old man had a clear mind and liked to inquire about the outside world. He chattered and occasionally said a few words of wisdom. The blond man called him the brainless Taoist. The blond man was very strong. He often smashed boulders with a punch and often went berserk in the cage. However, his mind was fuzzy and his eyes were dull like a fool. The old man liked to call him the four-legged monster. It sounded funny, but it actually contained an extremely cruel and tragic taste. Once, Nie Mingyuan had mentioned this old man to Nie Shuiman in admiration. According to the records, martial artists absorb the spiritual energy of plants and elixirs to refine their bodies. Sorcerers control the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and borrow external forces to form their own strength. But I have never heard of a technique that directly absorbs the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, or even the spiritual energy in jade, and transforms it into one's own aura to condense one's cultivation. Mingyuan, don't be bewitched by him. He has already fallen into the demonic path. Nie Shuiman warned him sternly. As cultivators, we are still humans. Humans need to eat the 5 grains and miscellaneous grains. Of course, humans can only refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth contained in living things. This is the law of nature, the law of heaven. It can't be violated at all. Even if you are a powerful cultivator, even if you have a flawless Taoist body, even if you have reached the legendary Inidia realm, you can only go without food for a dozen years. How can humans eat the aura of minerals as food? In the long run, the body and soul will be polluted by the impurities of heaven and earth, and become neither human nor ghost. Neither human nor ghost is a demon. That is falling into the demonic path. When Nie Mingyuan heard this, he didn't think much of it. Cultivation is naturally to become stronger. So what if you are a human, a ghost, a demon, or a demon? As long as you are a powerhouse. What is a powerhouse? That is a person who can kill and trample on others. That is enough. However, on the surface, he still nodded in agreement. Then he asked curiously, "What is the background of this old man?" "I don't know." Nie Shuiman shook her head and said, "I heard that when the sect leader entered the sect at the age of 8, this old man was already there. Later, that monster who likes to drink blood was stuffed into the sect to accompany him. It is said that the Brain Taoist is a powerhouse from the Daoguang era of the Qing dynasty. His origin is unknown. He once destroyed more than a dozen large sects, including Wudong, Tianshan, Kunlun, and Amei, in a year with only one sword. Blood flowed like a river. The cultivation world was frightened by his name. Later, more than a dozen immortal state warriors and human immortals joined forces and used many magical treasures to suppress him here. Compared to him, Kong Teichu is still far from being able to defeat him. Rumor has it that he came from the arcane land or the ruins of immortals. But it is just a rumor. No one knows the real situation. He is an old monster who has lived for 200 years. On one hand, Nie Mingyuan was shocked by the strength of this person. On the other hand, he vaguely understood why Chen Anping asked him to be the servant disciple who cleaned the nest behind the mountain and delivered food and blood. He longed for revenge and wanted to become stronger. He was also the person who was most likely to get the inheritance of the monster's unique skill. However, things didn't go as smoothly as Nie Mingyuan expected. When he first asked to be apprenticed to the Brain Taoist, the Brain Taoist laughed. "You're too weak." Brain Taoist sneered. Nie Mingyuan didn't know what was going on. He looked at him in confusion. The Brain Taoist's eyes burst out with needle-like light. Then, it became bigger and bigger, and it turned into flames. Nie Mingyuan felt an extreme heat. This was a real flame. The Brain Taoist raised his thin neck. His veins and blood vessels bulged like earthworms. He shouted desperately, "You don't have any cultivation base. You don't have the foundation to cultivate. You're trash, an ant, a worm. I am a piece of trash now, but not forever." Nie Mingyuan knelt on the ground. His eyes were calm and deep like a deep pool. He was as gentle as water, but also as hard as water. A piece of trash is a piece of trash. All the humans on Earth are worms. I am a member of the Heavenly Lord race. I am here to suppress everything, but you turned me into a worm when I was not prepared. Ridiculous worms. His voice became louder and louder like thunder. It was full of murderous energy and contained the power to destroy the world. He shouted, laughed and cried crazily as if he were going to shatter the stars, destroy the earth and kill thousands of people. The golden murals cracked and then peeled off like butterflies. The entire cliff cave trembled as if a magnitude 8 earthquake had occurred. Blood spurted out of Nieming Yuan's 7 orifices. He flew more than 10 meters away and fell to the ground. He was unconscious for 3 days before he woke up. He felt that the brain Taoist was so powerful that he was almost a god. So he went to the brain Taoist every day to help him clean his body. He kowtowed and begged him to teach him supreme techniques. But the old man still did not agree. He only mocked him every day, but he would never teach him any techniques. In 4 months, the sect competition will be held. Kong Teichu might come. Nieming Yuan threw the memories of the humiliation and pain from the past few days out of his mind. His eyes were full of anger. It was as if the hatred in his eyes could pierce through his sunglasses. Jiang Tian, you demon! You killed my parents and destroyed my family. If I don't kill you, I am not a human. I have taken care of those 2 monsters for a year. I hope there will be a turn for the better today. They will teach me something. Thinking of this, he limped towards the cliff cave at the back of the sect with quick footsteps. He helped the 2 of them clean their bodies, chatted with them about anything under the sun, and carried out their excrement and urine. Just as Nieming Yuan was about to leave, disappointed that this was another fruitless day, the golden-haired monster finally stuttered, "Brain, I have a way to turn the food delivery guy into a powerful being." "A powerful being with all brawn and no brains like you?" The brain Taoist sneered disdainfully. Chen Anping's master suppressed your mind with the 3 souls and 6 spirits of a few people. You have become an idiot. Yes, my spiritual power has been destroyed. The 4-legged monster stuttered. But my Duke-level blood race body is very powerful. My physical body, your spiritual power. Combined, we will create a true immortal. 4-legged monster, if you do this, your spiritual power will be suppressed forever. This is an extremely difficult decision, isn't it? The brain Taoist laughed sinisterly. The 4-legged monster's eyes were dull and empty. But is there any other way? The brain Taoist looked at Nieming Yuan and laughed even more sinisterly. Food delivery guy, your spiritual power is also suppressed. It is very likely that you are both my physical body. Think carefully. Chapter 664. Nieming Yuan didn't seem to understand the meaning of these words. He hurriedly kowtowed and said, "Godfathers, please help me cultivate a supreme technique and avenge my dead parents." Have you thought of a question? Brain Taoist looked at Nieming Yuan with great interest and laughed strangely. If your soul becomes mine and your body is reformed from the blood pool, will you still be yourself? Nieming Yuan's body trembled and he was silent for a long time. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said coldly with tears in his eyes, "Even if you take over my soul, I won't hesitate. I only want one thing from you, kill Kong Teichu and avenge me." Interesting, really interesting. Humans are really interesting. Brain Taoist laughed wildly and tears streamed down his face. The miserable and despairing laughter shook the entire cave, and the other experts in the cell trembled in fear. "I can help you. According to you, Jiang should be an immortal cultivator, not a human from Earth." Brain Taoist suddenly stopped laughing and shook his head with a contemptuous look. "However, I can kill him." "But, this cell?" Nieming Yuan stood up and looked at the strange blonde man's cell with a distressed expression. These bars were as thick as a human's thigh and made of bronze. They were mottled with green rust and were obviously quite old. There were mysterious and strange runes carved on them. According to the disciples of the same sect, the 2 ends of each bronze pillar were embedded hundreds of meters deep into the rocks above and below, and there was no key at all. He definitely didn't have the ability to open them. Perhaps even an immortal state expert couldn't open them. This was because the strange blonde man's strength had obviously surpassed many legendary immortal state experts, but he had never tried to move those bronze pillars. He had once seen him accidentally touch a bronze pillar. Suddenly, the flames burned brightly and a large area of his skin sizzled as if he was being roasted. "Isn't it easy to open these?" Brain Taoist laughed. He just focused his eyes. Streaks of silver light formed several patterns that floated out from his gloomy eyes. Papa. Several silver patterns hit the bronze pillars. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The bronze pillars shone brightly and then quickly dimmed. At this moment, Nie Mingyuan suddenly felt that some kind of power contained in the bronze pillars seemed to have disappeared. The four-legged monster stood up lazily and casually slammed his shoulder forward like the mountain lean of the eight extremities fist. Boom! In a loud noise, the bronze pillars caved in and formed a hole that allowed one person to pass through. Nie Mingyuan only then did he realize that the two monsters had the ability to get out. The reason why they didn't go out was that they didn't want to go out. Come in. Enter the blood pool. The four-legged monster said. Nie Mingyuan walked into the cell and looked to the blood pool to the blood. That strange blood pool was as calm as a mirror, without the slightest ripple. However, he couldn't see what was hidden inside. He only felt that it was abnormally eerie and terrifying. Let me remind you too. Brain heads to the pool, twos to the blood to the heaven, twos and to the blood, thence. T to the him to us, twos to be to him. 2, ss to that. At the end of the Qing dynasty, Chen Onping's senior brother wanted to break through and stepped into the blood pool. He did become very powerful and reached the level of Earth-level deity. Unfortunately, he only lived for half a year before his body exploded and he died. There's also a big risk. Your new body will reject each other and not be strong enough. My powerful divine will might burst your head. 9 out of 10, do you understand? Even if it's a narrow escape, I'm willing to give it a try. Nie Mingyuan's eyes flashed with a hint of viciousness. Father, mother, little folk, I won't let you die in vain. I will tear Jiang Tian Yi Ziwei and the rest of the Jiang family into pieces. He walked slowly toward the blood pool. Liseske, Brainhead only flicked his tongue and didn't say anything else. The four-legged monster's face flashed with a hint of anticipation. But when he reached the blood pool, Nie Mingyuan subconsciously stopped in his tracks. He knew that once he stepped in, there was no turning back. Nie Mingyuan would no longer exist in this world. But if he didn't go down, there was no turning back. Jiang Tian was simply too strong. He could advance 1,000 miles with a single step. It was said that he had already stepped into the half-step human immortal realm. With Wudong's cultivation methods and his talent, even if he cultivated for 10 lifetimes, he wouldn't be able to catch up to Jiang Tian. If he didn't suppress Jiang Tian's strength, how would he be able to avenge his parents? How would he have the face to visit his parents' graves? How would he have the face to stand in this world? He would be tortured for the rest of his life. Nie Mingyuan slowly took off his clothes, revealing his severely deformed torso. Hideous and terrifying scars that resembled centipedes overlapped and crisscrossed all over his body. Blood splattered everywhere. Nie Mingyuan stepped into the blood pool and then took another step. As soon as his foot touched the ground, a thin stream of blood flowed up his calf as if it was alive. The blood was crystal clear like a ruby carving. It also looked like the tentacles of a mollusk. They twisted and turned in an instant and clung tightly to his skin as if they could fuse with the blood in his body. Nie Mingyuan's body seemed to be covered with blood tattoos. It looked strange and terrifying. At first, Nie Mingyuan didn't feel anything. He even thought that the so-called blood pool was a prank by the two old monsters. But suddenly, he felt as if leeches were drilling into his skin. It was so painful that he gritted his teeth, opened his mouth, and howled miserably. The blood pool surged, and numerous ferocious and resentful faces struggled and roared in the blood pool, changing rapidly. The blood flowed faster and faster, gradually forming a blood curtain that covered Nie Mingyuan. In the end, a thick, black-red, gelatinous blood rose into the air like a python and drilled into his wide-open mouth. At this moment, Nie Mingyuan suddenly felt as if his skin was being torn apart, as if there was a fire burning. It was as if tens of thousands of steel knives were stirring up his internal organs. Pain to the bone marrow. It was as if countless leeches and poisonous snakes drilled into the depths of his bones, drinking his blood and sucking his marrow. Ugh! It's so painful. Even if he was prepared to die, Nie Mingyuan couldn't bear the pain. He fell into the blood pool and struggled and rolled, causing waves of blood. He howled to the sky. Suddenly, the screams stopped. He fainted. The blood in the blood pool rushed into his body at an extremely high speed. It became empty, leaving only Nie Mingyuan lying there. But at this moment, Nie Mingyuan's scars suddenly disappeared. His skin was as smooth as a newborn baby's. It was rosy and glowing. The holes and burns on his face were gone, and one of his ears had grown out. At this moment, he looked even more handsome than before. It was just that he was a little more sinister and demonic. So, now it's time for us to compete? Boom! The four-legged monster suddenly stood up. With a movement, his body suddenly stood upright like a lonely peak, like a peerless sword. His demonic eyes shone brightly, and his blood was surging. Should I call you Brain, Heavenly Lord, or your Taoist name, Wu Daozi, the 33rd Deputy Leader of Kunlun? You've already cultivated a soul avatar. How long do you want to pretend? At this moment, he seemed to be dominating the world. There was no longer the dull and crazy look in his eyes. You're also hiding your strength, okay? You're not, for limbs or a Duke kindred. You're Blood Soul Green, one of the 8 blood ancestors in Europe. The Brain Taoist laughed. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and spirit chi of heaven and earth surged. The spirit chi of heaven and earth immediately formed the bones, muscles, veins, nerves and fascia of the 4 limbs. In the end, his skin and hair covered his body and he became a handsome man like a scholar of the Qing dynasty. Then he took a step forward. It was just a simple step. Clang. The bronze pillars that were as thick as bowls lost all their magical power before they could even touch his body. They snapped like frail twigs and scattered in all directions as if they had been blown apart by high-explosive gunpowder. Mind Taoist, or perhaps he should be called Heavenly Lord Wu Daozi now, sneered sinisterly. Green, your soul power has never been suppressed by them. You just can't break the seal of the bronze pillars. You've been waiting for decades for me to open this door for you. What a good plan. Blood Soul Green sneered. You deliberately suppressed the soul avatar that can support the broken body to make me think that you don't have much possibility of seizing control of the body. In the end, let me use the blood in the blood pool to condense a body that you can easily occupy. Now that the body has been formed, let's have a fair fight and see your supreme Taoist power. As soon as he finished speaking, a bloody divine soul shadow broke out of his body and turned into a bright red light, drilling into Nie Mingyuan's mind. Ugly thing, don't be so arrogant. This body furnace is mine. Wu Daozi roared. His whole body turned into a green light along with his soul power. It drilled into Nie Minghai's mind. 2 divine souls, one red and one green, like 2 lightning bolts, quickly swam in the depths of Nie Minghai's mind and fought back and forth. Nie Mingyuan was unconscious and could only vaguely hear the 2 cursing. Wu Daozi, you're going to lose. Your soul will soon scatter. Ha! Blood Soul Green grinned. Green's bloody divine soul, like a spark, drilled into Nie Mingyuan's nerve center. Heaven wants me, Wu Daozi. I didn't expect you to practice the blood soul secret art. Wu Daozi's divine soul looked up to the sky and cried out. He had waited bitterly for 100 years with Green for 200 years, and finally found a suitable body furnace. But he didn't expect Green to practice the blood soul secret art. The early bird catches the worm and takes the initiative. Once Nie Mingyuan's body was occupied, his divine soul would lose the nourishment of his blood soul and would slowly be worn out, unable to condense again. Death of the body. Death of the soul. For a practitioner, this was the true meaning of death. How could this be? This kid's divine soul is so strong. I'm going to be swallowed. Green's divine soul exclaimed, like a frightened rabbit retreating, rushing out of the mind. Chapter 665. Bang. He was hit by the inner wall of his mind and almost shattered. Green turned pale with fright and roared, I can't get out. I can't get out. How can this be? I clearly left a blood soul primer in my main body. This is a soul devourer. He is actually a suppressing hell demonic body. Wu Daozi's soul turned pale with fright, and his eyes widened as he couldn't help but exclaim. In the depths of Nieming Yuan's mind, between the red and black chaotic fog, a demonic soul as tall as a mountain appeared. This soul wore a set of dark purple armor, on which there were several extremely sharp bone spurs, exuding a dense cold light. From the back of the tendons and bones drilled out 9 black demonic heads, snake heads, ghost heads, dragon heads, beast heads. Violent and ferocious roars, dancing in the air, tumbling and changing in an instant. This demonic soul towered into the clouds, indomitable and indomitable. Under the tall body, Green and Wu Daozi's souls were like 2 little chicks at the foot of a mountain. Looking at his face, it was extremely handsome, and the lines were as if carved by a knife and an axe. It was 80% similar to Nieming Yuan's face, but there was a faint sense of evil. In particular, his eyes were extremely resentful, as if there was a hatred that could swallow the heavens and destroy the earth. His lips were slightly thin, and he looked cruel and ruthless. On top of his head, there were 2 long horns curved into a spiral shape, and a trace of blue lightning flashed between the 2 horns. It seemed that this soul's momentum was enormous, just like the demons that came from the 9 Serenities' hell. Revenge! Revenge! Revenge for my parents, revenge for Feng, revenge for the Nye family. This demonic soul's eyes flowed with tears of blood, and his hatred was monstrous. Step by step, he approached the 2 souls in the corner of his mind. The armor on his body clanged loudly, and every step he took caused the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. The shaking shook Green and Wu Daozi's souls, and they were almost destroyed. This demonic soul suddenly roared to the sky, gritting his teeth ferociously. I want to strengthen myself and kill Kang Teichu. Hate. Too much hate. I want to kill all the people in the world, the ugly humans. His bony hand reached out and grabbed Grimm's soul like an eagle grabbing a chick. His mouth suddenly opened up to his ears, revealing his white fangs. Its blood-red tongue licked the long drool that flowed out of its mouth as it roared. It's a little dirty soul, but it's very powerful. I want it. Grimm's soul had no power to resist. He was so scared that he could not stop crying. Demon Lord, don't kill me. I submit. From now on, I am your most loyal servant. I know a lot of Cultivation's secret realms in Europe. I can tell you all about them. I am your most loyal servant. Wu Daozi's divine soul also scrambled to kneel and submit. Demon Lord, please spare my life. I'm a remnant soul from the celestial venerate race from the outer realm. Please don't kill me. With your physique, only by imparting the cultivation technique to you will you be able to fully utilize it. Really? From then on, all of you will be my slaves. The demon lord hesitated for a moment. In the end, his armor clanged as he flung Matt's divine soul to the ground. I feel very weak. I'm going to rest for a while. He went into the depths of Grimm's mind again. Nieming Yuan's mind quieted down. The 2 divine souls huddled together, looking at the terrible demon lord with fear and worry. They did not dare to say a word. The sun and the moon alternated. The light in the cave was sometimes bright and sometimes dark. After an unknown period of time, Nieming Yuan took a deep breath and opened his eyes in a daze. The sharp pain in his body had disappeared, but the scenes before and after the coma were particularly clear, flashing in front of his eyes like a slideshow. What kind of physique do I have? The demon body of purgatory. He rumbled. He stood up with a sound, his face wild with joy. He was so excited that the corners of his mouth twitched crazily. Then he suddenly straightened his body, exuding a monstrous demonic aura, and shouted sternly. Wu Daozi, old servant Grimm, what kind of cultivation technique is suitable for me to practice? Quickly tell me a set. He flicked his sleeves and his face suddenly became incomparably cold. Otherwise die. There seems to be a lot of resentment. Who hates me so much? Jiang Tian, who was thousands of miles away, suddenly opened his eyes with a trace of uneasiness in his heart. But he did not realize that a great enemy that was about to bring him great trouble was born. He was still immersed in cultivation. And according to Jiang Tian's order, the Sidoni government announced another important news. The Medicine King Group announced a new strategy, the Longevity Industry Plan. The Saint Origin Immortal Healing Village developed by Sidoni began to recruit villagers from all over the world. The conditions were extremely harsh. Personal wealth of more than $10 billion, or they could pay at least $100 million in rent, or they had special talents recognized by the Sidoni government. The effect of the Immortal Healing Village. Ms. Zhang Wanqing, the president of the Medicine King Group, said confidently, common diseases would disappear within a month of residence. Patients with terminal cancer and other declared terminal diseases would have their lifespan extended by at least 10 years. Healthy people, after 10 years of residence, would be over 120 years old even if they left. When the news came out, the whole world was shocked. Many people were skeptical and couldn't believe it. Even the best medical treatment could not guarantee a person's lifespan to 120 years old. But the Medicine King Group had such confidence. It was like a myth. The Medicine King Group announced that they had led many companies to set up the Medicine King Health Insurance Company. If a healthy resident who had lived here for 10 years passed away before the age of 120, the insurance company would compensate them $1 billion. Those who did not achieve the promised effect would be compensated with 2 to 3 times the amount. At the press conference, the Medicine King Group also announced the first batch of villagers in the Immortal Healing Village. The list included Marshall Wooding, Paris Hilton, Facebook founder Mike, and dozens of other top American tycoons. Sidoni had also teamed up with Huasia's biggest online streaming platform, WatchMe, to create a reality TV show called The Effect Is This Magical. The show featured Hollywood star and handsome Tom Cruise, international socialite Paris Hilton, honorary dean of Harvard Medical School Professor George, South Korean star Lee Ian, and the CEO of the Ku Group, Andrew, and other villagers. The Ku Group was the world's largest provider of network solutions with a market value of $80 billion. It was one of the top 500 companies in the world. The founder, Andrew, had a net worth of $20 billion in 2009 and was one of the top 10 richest people in the world. However, Andrew was diagnosed with liver cancer 3 years ago and was in the final stage. Washington Hospital had given him a notice of critical illness. When he moved into the Immortal Healing Village, he was on the verge of death. He was skinny and his skin was dull. He was carried out of a private plane by the medical staff and was brought into the village in a wheelchair. When the show started, Professor George, a famous American doctor and the chairman of the Nobel Prize in Medicine Committee, said to the camera, "I don't believe that the Immortal Healing Village has such an effect. If it does, I can only say that the Immortal Healing Village has made history. It can even change the course of human civilization." "Why did you participate in this show?" Village elder Yi Ziwei asked with a smile. "That was to expose your conspiracy. This is a scam. The biggest scam in the world." Professor George shouted. Of course, this was for the show's effect. Professor George knew that the effect of the Immortal Healing Village would definitely be as good as expected. Celebrities, socialites, internet giants, billion-dollar entry fee, Li Jinju's mysterious double identity, Iris's scandal, the miraculous effect of the Immortal Healing Village, the angry condemnation of the Harvard Medical School professor, every one of them was eye-catching and eye-catching. Very soon, this topic was hyped to the point of explosion. The number of registered users of the Look at Me video kept increasing. 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. It reached an astonishing 400 million in a week, and its valuation broke through $10 billion. Zhang Yilin, Chen Jiafu, Yuan Ning, and the others who invested in the live streaming platform were overjoyed. However, under the eyes of the global audience, the number of Andrew's cancer cells kept decreasing. Within 3 days, he could eat normally. Within a week, he could get out of bed and walk. Within a month, all the cancer cells disappeared. Andrew in the camera was full of energy and his face was rosy. He hunted, rode horses, baked cakes for his wife and children, and was full of smiles. It was as if he was a different person. This is unbelievable. This is a miracle, a medical miracle. No, it should be a miracle. On the screen, Professor George waved the checklist and shouted in disbelief. Thank you to the immortal healing village. Thank you to the builders of Sidoni. You've given me precious health. In the last episode of the first season of the reality show, Andrew held his wife's hand in front of the camera and cried emotionally. My parents gave me my first life, and Sidoni and the immortal healing village gave me my second life. Sidoni will be my second home, and the immortal healing village will be my beautiful home. I will never leave this place, and I will contribute to the development of Sidoni and the village. Cancer can be cured? The immortal healing village is amazing. Yes, the medicine from the Medicine King group must be very effective. This is a miraculous medicine from the East. Everyone in the audience also exclaimed in disbelief. Within a month, more than 3,000 global tycoons flocked to Sidoni and signed up to stay at the immortal healing village. This was especially so for the upstarts in Silicon Valley. The entire Silicon Valley was almost empty. In Luyu wine cellar, Jiang Tian had left a lot of elixirs and Dharma artifacts for Marshall. Marshall had given them to many of his close allies as gifts. Many technology giants had already known about the miraculous effects of the immortal healing village. They had just witnessed another miracle. They had bought land in the north of San Juan and started to build factories. In just 2 months, they had built a new Silicon Valley that was 3 times larger than the original. The world was in an uproar. Silicon Valley is gone. The pearl of American technology has been taken by Sidoni. This will be a disaster for the American technology industry. This is the largest industrial migration in the history of the world. One after another, sensational headlines appeared on the BBC, Associated Press, Wall Street Journal, The Times, and other media outlets. The media was like a shark that had smelled blood. They rushed to report and pay attention to this major event. Chapter 666. After the new century, America's traditional manufacturing industry had gradually moved overseas. Their high-tech industry was the foundation of their survival. Now, their high-tech industry cluster was moving to Sidoni. This had a profound impact on America. The U.S. Trade Representative and the Department of Commerce were shocked. They imposed strict checks and restrictions on these companies. However, the California Consortium had great influence in the U.S. Congress and the judicial system. The transfer of assets was relatively smooth. In addition, Sidoni also made some kind of compromise. Both sides had a diplomatic negotiation. President Shenyang said that Sidoni's domestic Medicine King Group and many other companies hoped and planned to set up subsidiaries in America to export their capital to achieve a balance between bilateral trade and balance sheets. This was to save President Bush some face. America was only a representative. In England, France, the EU countries, Japan, South Korea, Huaxia, many rich people from many countries were fighting to immigrate to Sidoni. So much so that it became a trend for the world's upper class to immigrate to Sidoni or live in the immortal healing village. Compared to becoming a villager in the immortal healing village, racing horses, buying private jets, yachts, sports cars, and Prada became extremely unattractive. The transfer of America's high-tech industry has only affected America. But you have neglected a more serious and fundamental problem. At this time, the immortal healing village's henchman, the chairman of the Nobel Prize in Medicine Committee, Professor George, posted angrily on the internet. This kind of longevity technology that can only be enjoyed by a small number of rich people is like human hibernation and gene editing technology. It is a serious violation of fairness. Humanity, which was originally a community with a shared future, is now divided into 2 parts, long-lived humans and short-lived humans. Long-lived humans can extend their lives indefinitely with their wealth and longevity technology. They can enjoy more advanced technology and life in the future without any effort. As soon as the statement came out, the whole world was in an uproar. Professor George's words made sense. Not everyone wanted to live in the immortal healing village. The starting price of $100 million was enough to keep 9,999% of the world's population out. The current gap between the rich and the poor was already intolerable and infuriating. That would create a huge gap in the quality of life and lifespan in the future. And this gap was created by Medicine King Group and the Immortal Healing Village. At this time, Medicine King Group held another press conference to announce their second strategy, global strategy. More than a dozen of the Medicine King Group's hit products would be launched in Europe and North America on a large scale, and then in most countries around the world. We will allocate 30% of the profits from the Immortal Healing Village to offset the cost of the Medicine King Group's products and lower the selling price. We hope that all of humanity can enjoy health and longevity. Ms. Zhang Wanqing said this at the press conference. With the endorsement of the miraculous effects of the Immortal Healing Village, the products of the Medicine King Group swept the world like a hot knife through butter. There was a long queue in front of all the pharmacies. The citizens brought their bedding and tents and queued up without sleep just to buy 1 or 2 boxes of Medicine King Group's products. London out of stock. California was out. Almost all the products were out of stock. However, the townsfolk were still unwilling to leave for a long time. They stood outside the various pharmacies, waiting for the products to arrive quickly. The Medicine King Group is really amazing. This was the first time in the history of medicine. They created history. An observer of the pharmaceutical industry exclaimed. Compared to the fruit powder, it seems like the medicinal powder is even crazier. How does gang leader Qiao feel? Are you envious? Someone secretly tagged Fruit Gang leader Qiao on Twitter. No. I'm very happy. In fact, I've already become the second batch of villagers of the Immortal Healing Village and participated in the second season of the Miraculous Effects medical reality show. Jobs said. He also had pancreatic cancer. If Andrew could cure it in the Immortal Healing Village, of course, he had hope too. Many factors added fuel to the fire, and the Medicine King Group's reputation spread all over the world. There was a surge in sales one after another. In just 4 months, the Medicine King Group's name spread all over the world. The company's valuation surpassed global pharmaceutical giants like Glaxo and Pfizer, and they became the world's #1 pharmaceutical company. Thanks to the Immortal Healing Village, Sydney also became the world's most attractive country for immigrants in just a few months. It surpassed the United States and became the world's #1 country. Without a doubt, this is the greatest economic miracle since the Second Industrial Revolution. Sydney, the world's poorest country, became the world's 6th most powerful country in a year. The Wall Street Journal declared excitedly. Facts have proven that Sydney not only has a strong military, but it will also become the world's most dynamic economy. Sydney's health industry is almost unrivaled and irreplaceable in the world. The New York Times article was full of confidence. Seeing Sydney's burst of economic vitality, we have reason to believe that the health and longevity industry will surpass the internet, artificial intelligence, and big data, and become the 21st century's most powerful economic growth point. The UK's The Sun devoted an entire page to the St. Origin Immortal Healing Village. They were not stingy with their praise. The gung metal divine body is indeed powerful, but its drawbacks are also obvious. It's too difficult to break through. The resources required for each breakthrough are 10 times or even 100 times that of a normal physique. However, Jiang Tian was sitting in the cultivation room, motionless. There was no joy on his face. Instead, it was unusually solemn and troubled. What a waste of the 3 Guizhong cauldron pills. Such a good pill. Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. Ever since France had surrendered, Jiang Tian had not stepped out of the door. He had been in seclusion for 4 months. He had consumed many precious pills, such as the Guizhong cauldron pills, but he still had not broken through to Qi refinement level 8. Although he was on the verge of a breakthrough, there was still a fine line separating him from it. It's useless to consume more Guizhong cauldron pills. It's a waste. I might as well leave it to Qinger and the others. In his previous life, although Jiang Tian had never cultivated the gung metal divine body, he had cultivated it for 10,000 years and was very knowledgeable, so he had some understanding of it. There is only one kind of pill that can break through that barrier, the Xinjiang Dragon Tiger Golden Pill. The main ingredient of this pill was the Xinjiang grass. However, the Xinjiang grass required very strict conditions to grow. It needed to be nourished by the spirit qi of heaven and earth. It was rare even in the cultivation world, let alone on earth. He had plundered many treasures in the past, but he had never found such a rare herb. Before he went into seclusion, he had gathered all the disciples of the faction and showed them the pictures of the Xinjiang grass. He asked them to search the world and gather information. But so far, there was no valuable information. It was also because he was at his wits' end that Jiang Tian held onto a glimmer of hope and swallowed 3 returning center-crowning heavenly pills in succession, as well as many other pills refined from Winqin grass. But it turned out that Jiang Tian had underestimated the difficulty of this breakthrough. He was still stuck. "Master Kong, Tang Guizhu requests to see you." Suddenly, Sasaki Aisha walked in and bowed respectfully. In the faction, she was not only the head of the Reward and Punishment Hall, but also the head of the faction. She used to be a senior member of the Cherry Blossom Guild. She did everything in an orderly manner, which made Jiang Tian worry less. During the war with France, she controlled the Cherry Blossom Guild to put pressure on France and did her best. Jiang Tian was finally willing to teach her a set of swordsmanship, which made her even more grateful and loyal. "Oh, Elder Tang, why is he here? Let him in." Jiang Tian was slightly surprised. Not all of Jiang Tian's allies had come to Sidoni, such as Su Zhenlei and his daughter, Cheng Qingyi, and the others. First, the Jiang family still had some assets in Jinling that needed to be dealt with. Second, it was convenient for them to protect Jiang Jixing. As for the older generation figures like Elder Tang, most of them chose to stay in Huaxia to enjoy their old age because of their old age and reluctance to leave their homeland. After Tang Guizhu came in, he bowed and said excitedly, "Master Kong, on my way here, Sidoni is filled with green trees, clean air, blue sky, and white clouds. It's pleasing to the eye. Also, there are many skyscrapers, the economy is booming, and the people live and work in peace. It's much more developed and beautiful than Singapore, Hong Kong, and Hawaii." He gave a thumbs up and praised, "This old man can't imagine that just a year ago, this place was still covered in the flames of war. Master Kong is really amazing. Elder Tang, please sit down. It's just a small achievement, not worth mentioning." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, lifted the hem of his long robe, and sat down opposite Elder Tang. No. Master Kong, you can be said to be a capable minister in times of peace and a hero in times of chaos. Tang Guizhu sipped his tea and praised, "With your ability, you can be called the king of a country in times of war." He really admired Jiang Tian. He originally thought that Jiang Tian was only a cultivation genius and an expert, but who knew that he was also good at governing a country? Now, a large number of the world's top 500 companies were rushing to enter Sidoni. There were rows upon rows of skyscrapers, and the sea, land, and air transportation was unimpeded. The quality of the people was greatly improved, and it was very prosperous. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't take it to heart. Back then, when he was in the outer space, he had controlled many cultivation empires. The situation was much more complicated than on Earth, but he still played around. A trace of joy appeared on Tang Guizhu's face, and he said, "Master Kong, this old man is here to report something." "What is it?" Jiang Tian asked with a smile. "In a few days, there will be a sect competition in the back mountain of Wudong, and Ling Long may take over the position of sect master." Tang Guizhu said with a hint of pride, "Ling Long wants to invite you to watch the competition. This girl is quite capable. She actually became the sect master of the ancient Wudong that has been passed down for hundreds of years. Good news, I'll go and take a look." Jiang Tian nodded slightly and smiled. Now, he had defeated France and displayed his powerful military strength. Many leaders of big countries were afraid and couldn't come back to their senses. In a short period of time, no one would dare to provoke Sidoni. Anyway, it was difficult to break through in the sect, so it was better to go to Huaxia and take a look. Maybe he would encounter some opportunities. Chapter 667. Master Kong, Ling Long will be very happy if you come personally. Tang Guizhu was overjoyed. Suddenly, Jiang Tian frowned and said, "That's right. Linglong is going to be a disciple. Won't this violate the rules of the Wu Dang sect?" Many cultivation sects treated the inheritance of martial arts as top secret and were very strict in selecting disciples. Moreover, one must pass the test of being a servant, an outer disciple, an inner disciple, an elite disciple, and make great contributions to the sect. Only then would one have the chance to take over the position of the sect leader. Tang Linglong had only joined the Wu Dang sect for a little more than a year. How could she become the sect leader so quickly? "Master Kong, don't worry." Tang Guizhu shook his head and said, "Tang Linglong didn't hide her cultivation. You'll know when the Wu Dang sect leader takes her in. However, they don't know that Linglong is your disciple. They even hid my identity." Jiang Tian felt that something was wrong. He frowned and said, "Elder Tang, let's keep a low profile. Don't tell the ancient Wu Dang sect that I'm going. Let our own people know." "But this old man understands." Elder Tang hurriedly agreed. "Then I'll make some preparations. Let's go back together." Jiang Tian also left as soon as he said so. After making arrangements for the sect, he planned to return to China with Tang Guizhu. "I also want to go out for a walk. Bring me along." Zhang Qianlei also came up to Jiang Tian with a cheeky smile when he heard that Jiang Tian was going back for a trip. Jiang Tian could only nod and agree. The three of them rushed to the airport and boarded Jiang Tian's private plane. The plane would take off from Sidoni, refuel in Singapore, and finally land at Hubei Province's Hangzhou International Airport. Now that Sidoni had convenient transportation, there were many flights to Huaxia. The Boeing 737 that Jiang Tian took was also a private plane that the Jiang family had just bought for Jiang Tian. It could take off at any time and was very convenient. After several hours of flight, Jiang Tian, Tang Guizhu, and Zhang Qianlei arrived at the Hangzhou airport. They rested for the night before heading to Wudong. In Hubei province, Jiang Tian also had old friends. The most conspicuous one was Zimu from Shenong School. However, Jiang Tian was keeping a low profile this time and did not disturb him. Elder Tang's bodyguard, Xiao Wei, had been waiting for a long time with a car. After that, Little Wei drove Jiang Tian and the others to Shiyan City. "Qianlei, I have a bad feeling about this." In the car, Jiang Tian frowned. "What's wrong?" Zhang Qianlei asked casually, wearing a trendy Armani suit and a cigar in his mouth. He looked like a local tycoon. "Wudong is a semi-hidden sect. They are even more powerful than your celestial master sect." The more Jiang Tian thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He frowned and said, "Although Ling Long is talented, she has just joined the sect. She is still inexperienced. Why would they give the position of the sect leader to her so easily?" "I don't agree with the first sentence, but I agree with the second sentence." Zhang Qianlei frowned and said, "Chen Anping, the leader of Wudong sect. This old man is quite sinister and cunning. He has always had a bad reputation. Well, Qianlei, let's hide our identities this time and wait and see what happens." Jiang Tian said telepathically and formed a spell. Suddenly, he turned into a tall and strong middle-aged man in his 30s. It was Elder Tang's bodyguard, Xiao Wei. My dear mother." Xiao Wei was even more stunned when he saw this. His hands and feet were stiff and he almost drove the car into the quarantine zone. "Well, let's see what tricks Chen Anping has up his sleeve." Zhang Qianlei's hands trembled as he formed a spell. He was so tired that he huffed and puffed. Finally, his face wriggled and changed his appearance. At the side, Elder Tang was dumbfounded. "By the way, Brother Lei, I don't think you need to waste your cultivation to change your appearance," Jiang Tian said suddenly. But Zhang Qianlei was puzzled. Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. The legacy of the Celestial Master sect is about to be cut off. All that's left is a dojo. It's become a tourist attraction. Not many people know you. Damn, you need to change your bad habit of having a sharp tongue. Zhang Qianlei vomited blood when he heard Jiang Tian's words. Wudong sect was a semi-hidden sect that focused on cultivation. However, they also had some businesses in the secular world. In order to welcome the families of the disciples who came to watch the sect tournament, they set up a reception area in a 5-star hotel in Danjianka City at the foot of Wudong Mountain. They stepped into the hotel and let Xiao Wei leave. Tang Guizhou led Jiang Tian and Xiao Wei to a presidential suite and knocked on the door. "Elder Tang, you're here?" Immediately, a cold-looking girl with a hot body in a Taoist robe opened the door. She looked happy and bowed. She looks familiar." Jiang Tian looked at the girl's face, especially her full breasts. He suddenly felt that this girl looked familiar, but he could not recall who she was. "Elder Tang, are these the only two who came with you?" The girl in the Taoist robe glanced at Zhang Qianlei and Jiang Tian and looked disappointed. "That's right." Elder Tang chuckled and introduced, "Menghan, these are my bodyguards, Xiao Wei and Xiao Zhang. Lingling's parents are very busy with work and did not have time to come over. They let me represent them." "Lin Menghan?" Hearing Elder Tang call her that, Jiang Tian suddenly remembered the girl's identity. This girl was the former captain of the criminal investigation team of the Su Province Police Department, the big-breasted but brainless Lin Menghan. She disobeyed orders to investigate his relationship with the Nie family's murder case and even tried to arrest him with a gun. Xu Wei and Secretary Yu bumped into her and she was suspended. Since then, Jiang Tian had not heard any news about her. It turned out that she had joined Wu Dang's sect. Senior Tang is a disciple. I heard that she has a very powerful master. Where is he? Lin Menghan asked with a smile. That master of his is like a wild crane, an otherworldly expert. His whereabouts are elusive. Elder Tang shook his head helplessly and said, "Ever since he taught Lingling a skill, he has not appeared again." Lin Menghan's face flashed with disappointment and then she forced a smile and said, "All right, you can check in first. When everyone arrives in the afternoon, we will go to the back of Wu Dang's sect together. Remember, do not act on your own. There is a concealment array there. You won't be able to find the entrance." After Elder Tang left, Lin Menghan walked into the presidential suite next door and said to a beautiful girl, "Senior Xuan, Kong Taichu did not come." "What? He did not come?" Nie Xueman gritted her teeth and said, "We set up a trap to kill Kong Taichu. To avenge the Nie family. Who would have thought that he would be a coward? Maybe he is afraid." Lin Menghan sneered and said, "Our investigation team has not been peaceful. Our outer sect intelligence group has investigated that he has not been peaceful these years. He killed Hao Hongmei and Bai Tianlei, destroyed White Emperor City, offended a Mei Sword sect's Hao Taichong, and also killed many Dian Song disciples on Mount Everest. This guy is so cunning." Nie Xueman said with disdain, "His cultivation should be at the early stage of the immortal stage. Let's not talk about other things. Even our master, Anping Taoist, would not be able to defeat him." She said angrily, "But I did not expect him to be so smart. He ran away with a lot of his assets. In May, I went to Jinling and Yanjing to kill a few of his family members for revenge. But I could not find anyone. I heard that his father is still in Jinling." Lin Menghan suggested, "Killing his father would be very painful for him. I really want to see his angry and helpless face." Nie Xueman said, "His father is still in Jinling. But this old man is in a high position. He is protected by Su Jinlei and Su Ruoqing. There are also many armed guards around him. I did not even have the chance to kill him. Where did he go? We are not afraid of him. Shiji, you are already at the peak of transcendent state. You might not be able to kill him, but you should be able to kill his mother and father." Lin Menghan suggested. "I don't know. We have not found anything yet." Nie Xueman said angrily. "His henchmen in the country have all left. The rest of them have also changed their names. We can't find them." Only Tang Linglong thought that she was smart. She changed her name to Tang Lingling. She wanted to help Jiang Tian get cultivation resources so that he could join our faction. How would I know? We've already investigated Jiang Tian's background thoroughly. She is walking right into our trap. This time, we have painstakingly set up a trap to kill Kong Taichu and get the incomplete map of the ruins of immortality. Who would have thought that he would be a coward and not show up at all? How abominable! That bastard is really cunning. But what should we do now? Lin Minghan's face was filled with anger as she asked gloomily. If the soft approach doesn't work, we will use the hard approach. Nye Xueman pondered for a while. Then, a cold light flashed in her eyes and she said coldly, "We will announce Tang Linglong's real identity during the faction grand competition tomorrow. We will use her as a hostage to force Kang Taichu to come to Wudang. When the time comes, the leaders of the major factions will gang up on him and kill him. That will work." Lin Menghan gritted her teeth and said, "Kang Taichu has always claimed that he would protect his disciple if he joined my faction. I would like to see how he is going to protect his disciple." "All right, you can continue to entertain the guests. I have to go back to my faction and report this to my master." Nye Xueman suddenly got up and left the hotel in a hurry. "I knew it. I knew that the Wudang faction was up to no good. I didn't expect them to set up such a terrifying trap." In a room on the 3rd floor of the hotel, Jiang Tian, who was meditating with his legs crossed, retracted his divine sense. A cold smile appeared on his face as he murmured, "Well, today I will go even though I know that there is a tiger in the mountain. Let's see how powerful the ancient Wudang faction in Huaxia is." At noon, they had a simple meal. In the afternoon, a group of people gathered at the hotel plaza and took a Jinbei bus to Wudang Mountain. In the car, there was no lack of tycoons with hundreds of millions of assets, as well as some martial arts families. All of them had great backgrounds and extraordinary identities. However, they were proud to send their disciples to Wudang faction. From their conversation, Chen Fan learned that Wudang faction was quite powerful. They had 500 to 600 disciples and more than 100 transcendent masters. If these people came out of the mountain, they would cause a huge stir. "Hey, you old geezer. You should have come alone. Why did you bring 2 lowly servants with you?" After learning about Jiang Tian's identity from Lin Menghan, a rich lady in a mink coat sneered at Jiang Tian. Chapter 668. This lady was a distant relative of Lin Menghan and lived in Malaysia. Her family owned a few shipyards and had a net worth of 200 million Huaxia dollars. They were quite influential in Southeast Asia. This time, she wanted to send a son to the ancient Wudong. She came with the intention of worshipping. When she saw Elder Tang bringing along 2 bodyguards, she was annoyed and felt that the old man was being immature. "Why can't we bring them along?" Zhang Qianlei frowned. The lady pointed at the few men in front of her and said, "Do you see that? This is Macau's gambling king, He Hongqian. This is Hong Kong's richest man, Superman Li. This is the leader of the United Bamboo Gang in Taiwan. Macau's gambling king, controlling a net worth of 500 billion. Macau's first chief executive, Mr. Hua, is his nephew. Hong Kong's richest man, Superman Li, needless to say. The richest man in the Chinese circle, who doesn't know him? Chief one of the United Bamboo sect is a person who can call the wind and summon the rain on Treasure Island. His words carry enormous weight, and his hands reach the heavens. What kind of status do they have? What kind of glorious status do they have? But they are all light and did not bring a single bodyguard with them. Who do you think you are, old man? Do you think you are the emperor? How dare you bring bodyguards with you? How can bodyguards like you have the right to go to the back of Wudang sect? Such a lowly person, like an ant, can also occupy a seat? This old man is being impulsive. I am ashamed. I am ashamed. Elder Tang was already aware of his fate. His heart was calm as he repeatedly apologized. Jiang Tian was not bothered by the provocation of these lowly people. But Zhang Qianlei could not take it and said angrily, "What lowly people? Bitch, if you dare to be disrespectful again, I will slap you. Mr. Zhang, please maintain your manners. If not, get out of the car." Seeing this, Lin Menghan walked over and scolded angrily. "Bitch, how dare you talk to me like that? Be careful or I will strike you with lightning." Zhang Qianlei was furious and wanted to tear Lin Menghan into pieces. "Are you crazy? How dare you talk to senior sister Menghan like that?" A male disciple unsheathed the sword at his waist, revealing a blade that shone with a cold light. Don't think that you can be so presumptuous just because you have some ability in the secular world. This is Wudang sect, a semi-hidden sect. Even a billionaire would have to show some respect to any one of their disciples. If you dare to speak to junior sister Menghan like that again, I'll chop you up with my sword. Do you know what a semi-hidden sect is? Hidden in the clouds, they were detached from worldly affairs. Even the secular government did not dare to provoke them. Killing ants like you is as easy as chopping vegetables. Many disciples on the chariot pointed at Zhang Qianlei and shouted in a high and mighty voice. Even though Lin Menghan was only at the pinnacle of inner strength, she was able to make a name for herself in the outer sect of Wudang sect due to her beautiful and fashionable looks. These male disciples all adored her and were quite protective of her. Wudang is indeed Wudang. Domineering. Such an insignificant ant dares to challenge the dignity of a semi-hidden sect. He deserves to die. Get out. How dare you disrespect a semi-hidden sect? Your kid will be kicked out of the sect. Yeah, don't you know the rules? Don't you know what a semi-hidden sect is? Seeing this, some of the family members on the chariot cheered and clapped in excitement. Some of them pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded him. These secular people don't know that in their eyes, you are also ants. They want to kill Zhang Qianlei now. Don't they know that if they don't like you in the future, they will also kill you? Seeing this, Jiang Tian's expression did not change as he smiled mockingly. The ancient Wudang sect had never been a good thing. In Jinling, they supported the Nie Zhanghai family and bullied the weak. They went around seizing, burning, killing, and looting. In Chen Fan's previous life, the Jiang family was destroyed by the Nie family. In Yanjin, Chen Xuejiao and many other disciples of Wudang sect acted as pawns of the Condor gang. They were in cahoots with the White Emperor city and bullied the weak. They acted like tyrants in Huaxia. With this thought in mind, Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat. Both the Nie family and Chen Xuejiao had connections with the Cherry Blossom Society. Could it be that the ancient Wudang sect also had connections with foreign countries? On the chariot, everyone was mocking Jiang Tian and the others. He Hongchen, the gambling king of Macau, closed his eyes and didn't say a word. It was as if he was afraid that Jiang Tian would dirty his eyes. How dare a guard offend the Wudang sect? He must have a death wish. Wan Gong, leader of the United Bamboo sect, shook his head and curled his lips. He also thought that Zhang Qianlei was too naive. This kid is not ordinary. Even if Mount Tai collapses in front of him, he will remain calm. However, Superman Li, the richest man in Hong Kong, looked at Jiang Tian and a glint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Jiang Tian didn't react at all from the beginning to the end. The reprimands and provocations of many people did not seem to enter his eyes at all. He seemed to have some foundation. Senior Sister Lin, please don't scold them for the sake of the old man. He wanted to befriend Jiang Tian, so he tried to persuade him with a smile. They must have thought that the ancient Wudang sect is powerful and wanted to see it for themselves. The ancient Wudang sect has always been kind to people. Why are you so angry? Superman Li, do we need your advice on how the ancient Wudang sect operates? Even though she was facing the richest man in Hong Kong, Lin Menghan didn't show him any respect. She sneered and said, "Give you face? What do you have that I should give you face? I remember that your son was kidnapped by the thief of the century, Zhang Ziqiang. That's why you begged the two elite disciples of the ancient Wudang sect to serve you. Every year, you would offer hundreds of millions of gifts to my master. You begged him for more than 10 years before my master agreed to it." She was arrogant and haughty. Her face was filled with disdain. "I respect you, that's why I call you Mr. Richest Man. If I don't respect you, you are nothing but an ant that I can crush with my bare hands." Speaking up to this point, her voice raised a few notches as she sternly reprimanded, "Since you know what's good for you, then you should be smart. You need the protection of the ancient Wudang sect. Don't talk too much. Why do we need to explain to you how the ancient Wudang sect operates?" Yes. I know I was wrong." Superman Li didn't dare to show his displeasure. Instead, he clasped his hands together and apologized profusely. What an arrogant bitch. Zhang Qianlei was furious when he saw this, and he gnashed his teeth to the point they emitted cracking sounds. He formed seals with his fingers and intended to attack. However, Jiang Tian spoke to him through telepathy. That's enough, Brother Lei. Don't lower yourself to their level. We will raise the ancient Wudang sect to the ground later. Zhang Qianlei angrily sat back down and glared at Lin Menghan. He then used his psychic power to communicate with her. Old Jiang, I don't care about anything else. You must leave this woman to me. I will kill her. Seeing that Zhang Qianlei had stopped talking, Lin Menghan was even more disdainful. They are just ants of the mundane world. How dare they threaten me? When I expose Tang Linglong, I will kill all three of them. At the back of the Wu Dang sect, Nie Shuaman arrived at the Jingle Palace to meet with Chen Anping. Kong Teichu is not coming? Chen Anping shook his head and lamented. This time, I have invited the leaders of the 9-story pagoda, Hong sect, Jin Gang temple and many other semi-hidden forces to come. He was already 100 years old, but his cultivation was profound and he was good at retaining his youthful looks. However, he looked like he was in his 40s. He was wearing a blue satin Taoist robe. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright. He looked like an immortal. Master, what do you think we should do? Nie Shueman, who was sitting down, asked a question first. Then, her beautiful face was filled with viciousness. I suggest that we imprison Tang Linglong and force Kong Teichu to come and get her. Today, we will chop off one of her legs and send Tang Guizhu to Jiang Tian. If he doesn't come, we will chop off another one. Then, we will cut off her nose, gouge out her eyes, cut off her arms, and peel off her face, until Kong Teichu comes. When the other elders and hall masters heard these vicious words, their hearts trembled, and a chill ran down their spines. Shuman, that is a good idea. However, Chen Anping was full of praise. Although Kong Teichu will be cautious, I have many powerful people here. I don't think he will be a match for us. Shun, you've learned a lot from me in your way of doing things. He sneered and said with a cold look in his eyes, Jiang Taichu, that trash, an ant in the secular world, dares to repeatedly offend my Wudang sect. First, he destroyed the Nie family of Jinling. Then, he killed Chen Qingshan and Chen Xuejiao. He destroyed the Condor Gang and obstructed the Wu Dang sect's plan to control the mortal world. Kong Teichu is a fool. Does he think that no one in the Wu Dang sect can stop him? Lu Shuaman was delighted when she heard this. She quickly got up and kowtowed. Master is wise. Kong Teichu is a vicious dog who kills people easily. If we don't get rid of him, he will be a big problem. Chen Anping nodded and said, You have done a lot of research and suggestions to deal with Kong Teichu. After this, I will give you a few sets of the sect's cultivation techniques to help you reach the immortal state. Li Mubai, the personal disciple, frowned. It's just that if Kong Teichu doesn't come, we will let all these powerful people come for nothing. It will also be a waste of our connections. How can we let them come for nothing? Chen Anping laughed. Then, he said with a cold and sinister expression, the seal on the bronze pillar that imprisoned the Duke-level vampire is getting weaker and weaker. Even though I used the soul-guiding mystic technique to summon the souls of a few disciples to suppress his soul, he still wouldn't give up. This time, I've teamed up with a few godly state, half-step human immortals and human immortals to strengthen the seal, suck the blood essence of this blood-kindred devil, or refine his divine soul and make him our servant. Boom. Everyone was in an uproar. Lu Shueman was even more frightened. A complicated expression appeared on her face. It turned out that the sect leader had such a plan. It turned out that this was the ultimate goal of inviting all the sect leaders to watch the sect competition. Chapter 669. That Duke-level blood demon is really powerful. Yeah. Even though he's imprisoned in the cliff cave and is a few miles away from us, I can still feel his bloodthirsty aura. I heard that during the Qing dynasty, he invaded Huaxia with the 8-Nation Alliance. He easily devoured a town or a village and created a sea of blood. If sect leader LV Yongzhen had not joined forces with the Kunlun sect leader and many other powerful figures to suppress and seal him, I'm afraid our orthodoxy would have been destroyed. Everyone was shocked. Sigh. My original plan was to kill Kong Teichu with many of my fellow cultivators and obtain the secrets of the ruins of immortality. The sect leaders would definitely help me suppress this blood demon in return. Chen Onping shook his head regretfully. I didn't expect Kong Teichu to be such a coward. I thought too highly of him. Looks like I can only give those friends some heavenly treasures as thanks. After suppressing that blood demon, we just need to take some of the blood from the blood pool and refine some pills for our friends. That should be enough. Nye Xuemon suggested. By the way, I asked that. Xiaonya to find out the cultivation method of Brain Taoist. Did he get any results? He hasn't been reporting to us recently. A hint of displeasure flashed across Qin Onping's face as he said, Xuemon, although he's your nephew, he's not related by blood. You must know that I've never taken in trash. Nye Xuemon hurriedly said, I haven't seen him for a long time. I'll go take a look now. If you can't get anything out of him, get rid of him. Chen Onping swung his sleeves and snorted. I understand. Nye Xuemon was so scared that she trembled. Li Mubai, remember to keep an eye on Tang Linglong. Don't let her escape. Also, take good care of our friends. Yes. Sect leader. Li Mubai hurriedly stood up and answered. Although Kong Teichu isn't coming this time, I still feel a little uneasy for some reason. Reinforce the sect's defenses. Be on high alert. Chen Onping gave a few more orders before he gradually calmed down. Disciple understands. Everyone accepted the order and left. The meeting ended. Nye Xuemon walked out of the meeting hall with a heavy heart. Li Mubai pulled her little hand and said, Remember to tell Nye Mingyuan that we're getting married. I'm annoyed by the way he looks at you. It's like he's looking at a goddess. He's my nephew. What are you thinking? Anger appeared on Nye Xuemon's face as she flung his hand away. Nephew? Are you related by blood? Li Mubai was not as humble as before. Instead, he proudly snorted and said, Let me tell you, my cultivation is now stronger than yours. I am already at the peak of qi refining. Maybe I am the sect leader. I know you're amazing. Nye Xuemon tugged at his hand and said in a tender voice, But don't overthink it. I just pity him. After all, I owe him a debt of gratitude for raising me. Oomph. Li Mubai proudly raised his chin. Nye Xuemon saw that there was no one around, so she secretly kissed him on the cheek. With a slightly red face, she coquettishly said, Are you satisfied now? I'm going to the cliff cave. Then she floated away. Li Mubai was very satisfied. Touching the soft and tender kiss mark on his face, he said happily, Sure enough, cultivation is everything in a hidden sect. When my cultivation was not as good as hers, I was just a spare tire. When did she ever look at me properly? Let's go. I'm going to guard Tang Linglong. Good job on the mission. Master will reward you. This disciple swaggered toward the Taoist palace where Tang Linglong was. It took Nye Xuemon half an hour to pass through a magnificent hall and finally arrived at the backyard of the dojo. Out of the small courtyard, she walked into a narrow path and flew up the mountain for a mile. Finally, she arrived at an iron chain bridge. Instead of calling it an iron chain bridge, it was more appropriate to call it an iron chain. A lone iron chain extended into the depths of the Sea of Clouds and was submerged by the Sea of Clouds. Those who were not in the core of the sect would definitely not know where it reached. Nye Xuemon had been cultivating in Wudong sect since she was 16 years old. After 10 years of hard work, she went from the lowest servant disciple to a direct disciple. She even had the chance to take over the position of the sect leader. During the 10 long years, she cultivated diligently. Not only did she suffer hardships, but she also fought and killed people to seize the sect's treasures. There was also the struggle for power among the sect's elders, hall masters, and disciples. Everyone was scheming against each other. And these wind blades and snow swords forced her to gradually develop a ruthless, decisive, and tenacious personality. These painful experiences and cruel tempering even made her feel very fulfilled, and she was willing to endure them. But when she thought of the cave on the cliff at the end of the iron chain, a heartfelt disgust rose from the bottom of her heart. There was even a trace of uncontrollable fear. However, Mingyuan said that I must tell him anything about Jiang Tian. I'd better tell him. It's time to tell him about my relationship with Li Mubai. Nie Xueman's face was sad and disappointed. She sighed and said faintly, "Sigh, he even has to walk a few kilometers of mountain road to the cliff cave. If he doesn't know how to use this iron chain, what's the difference between him and a piece of trash?" In the end, she jumped up and down on the iron chain like a nimble bird. With one step, she crossed dozens of meters and flew toward the cliff in the distance. Nie Xueman felt strange and uneasy when she walked into the cliff cave. Many imprisoned martial arts and sorcery masters were on the verge of death. They were shivering in the corner. In some caves, people were gone. Only piles of bones were left. What's going on? So many people have died recently? He's really useless. Nie Xueman frowned and muttered. Some of these prisoners were martial artists, sorcerers, and some were rich and powerful people. They had all offended Wudong's sect. They were kidnapped by Wudong's sect but not killed. Their purpose was to extract their marrow and make them provide Wudong's sect with a steady stream of money and wealth. Now that they were dead, Nie Mingyuan would be severely scolded by his master. He might even be expelled from the sect. She came to the depths of the cave prison. What? Brain Taoist and Vampire Duke are also dead? How did Mingyuan end up like this? It's over. Nie Xueman was even more shocked to find that Brain Taoist was gone. The blood pool had also dried up. She beat her chest and stamped her feet. She was almost scared out of her wits. Although Nie Xueman and Nie Mingyuan were like a couple when they were young, Nie Xueman and Nie Mingyuan were very close. But at this moment, Nie Xueman was completely disappointed in Nie Mingyuan. He would definitely be punished to death. There was no need to hide her relationship with Li Mubai from him. No, I have to report this to Master. Nie Xueman hurriedly walked out of the cave and was about to leave. Xueman, why are you here? Suddenly, a gentle voice sounded. Nie Mingyuan appeared on the platform at the entrance of the cave like a ghost. Mingyuan, have you recovered? Nie Xueman's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. Nie Mingyuan's face was like jade. His skin was fair. Not only had his burns healed, but he was also more handsome than before. His black robe made him look even more handsome and elegant. However, there was an indescribable evil charm in his temperament. Demon Lord, this girl is full of vitality and has a strong body. She is a good nourishment. Suddenly, a sinister voice sounded. The Brain Taoist soul was talking. Shut up. Nie Mingyuan frowned and scolded sternly. Nie Xueman was shocked. Nie Mingyuan made two completely different voices. Could it be that his mind was damaged by hatred and he had schizophrenia? Nie Mingyuan held Nie Xueman's hand and said with a smile, Xueman, my potential has been stimulated. I've recovered. You've really recovered. That's great. For a moment, Nie Xueman was hesitating whether she should choose Nie Mingyuan. After all, they were young and affectionate. It was hard to forget. Marry me. I'm about to reach the top of the world and look down on this planet. I can even take you on the ancient path of the stars and travel the world. Nie Mingyuan's tears rolled down his cheeks. But all these years, the hatred for my parents and your love are the only things that keep me going. I won't leave you behind. Reach the top of the world and look down on this planet. Nie Xueman's face suddenly turned cold. She said mockingly, Are you crazy? You don't have the talent for cultivation. Before Nie Mingyuan could explain, she broke free from Nie Mingyuan's hands and turned around. She said indifferently, Master asked you to investigate the cultivation method of the Brain Taoist and the method of refining the blood pool. How did it go? Where is he? Where is the blood pool? Why is it gone? Of course I've investigated it thoroughly. But there's no need to give it to that old bastard Chen Anping. Nie Mingyuan flicked his sleeves and looked at her with disdain. I've refined the blood pool. I'm very powerful now. Chen Anping is just a piece of trash that I can kill with one finger. You're crazy. How dare you disrespect the sect leader? Nye Shuaman was shocked and then became furious. She shouted sternly, "Do you know that if the sect leader hears this, you'll be dead on the spot? Nye Mingyuan, if you find the cultivation method, report it to Master immediately. Maybe he'll show you mercy and forgive you for losing the blood pool." "Shun, what if I don't?" Nye Mingyuan was stunned for a moment and suddenly asked. A trace of coldness flashed in the depths of her evil eyes. "Of course I'll capture you and send you to the sect leader for him to deal with you." Nye Shuaman turned her head and said coldly, "The Nye family has raised me. I don't want to do this, but I can't disobey Master's order. I'll plead for you. In your eyes, there's only the kindness of raising me?" Nye Mingyuan suddenly asked with a faint smile. "What else?" Nye Shuaman flicked her sleeves and said impatiently, "Not to mention that you have no cultivation, you can't even keep two useless old monsters in check. You're just a piece of trash. From now on, you and I are only friends of the same sect. There's nothing else. I advise you to stop your wishful thinking and stop pestering me. I'm already engaged to Li Mubai. If he wants to kill you, I won't stop him. Hee, I've said it before. You should eat her." A strange laughter sounded out of nowhere. It was full of bloodthirst. "Cut the crap. The demon lord is going to show off. Before killing someone, he has to show off." Another mocking voice sounded. Chapter 670. Shut up, you two bastards. Nye Mingyuan's voice resounded through the mountains like a demon's roar. Nye Shuaman almost spat out blood. For a moment, the clouds in the mountains were silent. Nye Shuaman took a few steps back and looked at Nye Mingyuan in shock. "Mingyuan, what's wrong with you? Why are you so strange?" Nye Mingyuan's eyes flowed with tears of blood. He looked up and laughed bitterly. "Sure enough, this world always respects the strong. The strong overlook the world and get everything. The weak lose everything and can't protect your parents and family. Even your lover will abandon you." As he spoke, the black and red demonic aura around Nye Mingyuan surged wildly. Then, the bones all over his body made cracking noises. His body grew taller and taller, his muscles expanded, and bone spurs grew out. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into a hell-suppressing demon god that was more than 5 meters tall, with 2 horns on his head, bone spurs on his body, and 9 demon heads on his back. But what is this? Compared to Nye Mingyuan's demon lord physique, Nye Shuaman looked like a weak ant. She was so shocked that her face turned pale and she screamed uncontrollably. At the same time, 5 or 6 sword auras slashed on Nye Mingyuan's body. Of course, Nye Mingyuan was not hurt at all. "Sigh, I told you that I've become stronger, but you didn't believe me." Nye Mingyuan's mouth opened to his ears, revealing his white teeth that were like halberds. He licked the corner of his mouth with his saliva and asked curiously, "Shuaman, why do you want to kill me? Even if you've forgotten our old relationship, you don't have to be so ruthless. You're a demon. How did you become like this?" Nye Shuaman's mind was buzzing from the loud demonic voice. She was so shocked that her face turned pale. She staggered back and fell to the ground. "My physical body is just my appearance. Maybe my heart has always been like this. This is my true form." Nye Mingyuan squatted down and looked at Nye Shuaman with greedy eyes. He grinned and said, "It should be delicious. No, don't kill me. Have you forgotten the feelings between us? You do love me. I'm willing to marry you. We'll be together forever and never be separated." Although the other party squatted down, Nye Shuaman still felt as if she was being suppressed by a mountain. She was so scared that she trembled and begged with tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I love you very much, so let's merge into one and become a part of my body." Nye Mingyuan stretched out his bony hand and gently rubbed Nye Shuaman's tender cheek. Nye Shuaman's scream was like tearing brocade and tearing silk. Nye Mingyuan opened his ferocious mouth and instantly held her head in his mouth, biting it down. Crunch, crunch. Nye Shuaman's head was crushed, and her brain and blood flowed out. She had become his most delicious food. Nye Mingyuan's eyes were filled with tears of blood, but his teeth were still grinding and chewing crazily. His tongue was rolling as he swallowed at lightning speed. Blood spurted out from the corner of her mouth. Nie Xuemon's internal organs, torso, limbs, were all eaten up in no time. Suddenly, Nie Xuemon's face appeared on one of the scales on the black snake's head. That face kept on twisting and changing. It had already demonized and was actually somewhat sinister. It frantically struggled and rammed about as it roared, "Mingyuan, let me out." "Why do you want to go out?" "Now, your divine soul is already a part of me. This is the true meaning of never being separated." Nie Mingyuan sat on the platform and smiled foolishly. Bloody tears flowed down his evil face. "Delicious. Let's go and eat a few more." Then he suddenly turned into an ordinary black-clothed and black-haired person. With a flick of his sleeves, he turned into a demonic light and rushed to the Wudong training hall. 10 minutes later, Nie Mingyuan appeared at the entrance of the Mingdao Hall. He shook his body and turned into the image of Tang Linglong. "Tang Lingling, when did you come out? Didn't Master order you to cultivate in seclusion to prepare for the upcoming intersect tournament?" Seeing Tang Linglong walk in from the door, Li Mubai was surprised and then questioned angrily. Nie Mingyuan snorted coldly and raised his hand. Billowing demonic energy instantly sucked Li Mubai's blood essence dry. He didn't even have the strength to struggle. In a second, he turned into a dry corpse and fell to the ground. "How dare you kill senior brother?" The disciples guarding around were shocked and angry. They didn't know whether to run away or take down Nie Mingyuan. "Die all of you." Nie Mingyuan moved his soul and a black wind swept across the courtyard with a radius of 50 or 60 meters. Everyone's body stiffened and fell to the ground, turning into dry corpses. Only one disciple was left with half a life. His breathing was weak, but his hair had turned white and his face was haggard. He looked like an 80-year-old man. Boom. 10 seconds later, Nie Mingyuan appeared in a courtyard and turned into the image of Tang Linglong. He walked toward a big house. In the big house, 7 or 8 martial arts overlords gathered and laughed. They were at least transcendent masters. The leader was a woman in a cheongsam who looked to be in her 30s. Seeing this woman, a peak transcendent elder of Wudong sect was amazed. This woman was already in her 60s, but she still looked so young. It was amazing. Ms. Yi Xian used to be Mr. Zhongshan's chief bodyguard. She is the disciple of Sita Yuanhao, the leader of the Hong sect. She is one of the 4 elders of Wudong sect. I am afraid that you are already half a step away from immortal state. Since you are here, make sure that Kong Teichu never comes back. A hint of fear surfaced on his face as he cupped his fists and said, "That Kong Teichu is so domineering. Situ Jie's sudden death must have been caused by Kong Teichu." Ms. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed as she snorted. She slammed the armrest of the chair and snorted. "The ancestral master of the Hong sect is about to come out of seclusion. How dare he offend us? My master and his disciple Yuanhao are on their way. Kong Teichu is going to die." "You want to kill my master?" Suddenly, Nie Mingyuan turned into the image of Tang Linglong and kicked open the door. "Tang Linglong?" The elder was taken aback, but he quickly calmed himself down. He cracked a smile and said, "You stole from the Wudang sect. Why aren't you surrendering now? Kneel down and submit. You are the disciple of Kong Teichu, Tang Linglong." Ms. Yi Xian rose to her feet and walked toward Nie Mingyuan. She said coldly, "I am here today to kill Kong Teichu. But I don't mind breaking one of your arms first." "You are asking for it." Nie Mingyuan cracked a smile and took a step forward. Kaboom! He threw a punch at Ms. Yi Xian's chest. Sensing the terrifying fiend qi, Ms. Yi Xian was taken aback. She had never thought that her opponent would be so powerful. She used all kinds of secret arts in a blink of an eye, but none of them worked. She was knocked 10 meters away by her opponent and fell to the ground, dead. Half a step away from immortal state. So what? Nie Mingyuan smiled arrogantly. He didn't even bother to look at the horrified elder and disappeared in a flash. In a blink of an eye, Nie Mingyuan turned into Tang Linglong and flashed in and out of the Wudang sect. He killed many elders, hall masters, and masters of martial arts and semi-hidden sects invited by the Wu Dang sect. Then, his body flickered a few times and left the ancient Wu Dang sect. Master? Where are we going? The divine soul of the brain Taoist asked. Kill Hua Xia martial arts and conquer the world. Nie Mingyuan's eyes lit up. He stared at the rugged mountain path and said coldly, Kong Teichu is there, but he is too powerful. I can't kill him yet. My cultivation is still not as powerful as Jiang Tian's. I need to strengthen my cultivation and gather my forces to tear this kid into pieces. After he said that, his body suddenly turned into a cloud of black mist and drifted in the forest. The semi-hidden Wu Dang sect had nothing to do with the historical Wu Dang sect. The historical Wu Dang sect, founded by Zhang Sanfeng, was located at Mount Wuqian and practiced internal martial arts, Tai Chi, and Tai Chi sword. This sect was not a hidden sect, but a sect that entered the world. It was still thriving and had many disciples. The real semi-hidden Wu Dang sect was rarely known in the secular world. It was much more secretive than the Wu Dang sect and had a much longer history. It was passed down from the Tang dynasty and worshipped the god of the north, Zhenwu Emperor. After passing Mount Wuqian, the mountain road was cut off. The Jinbei bus stopped here and everyone got off. A huge barbed wire gate blocked the road. There was an iron sign hanging on it that read, National Protection Primitive Forest, no sightseeing. Looking inside, he saw huge trees blotting out the sky, clouds and mist swirling about, and wild beasts roaring and roaring. This is a small cloud formation. It is 5 or 6 kilometers wide and more than 2,000 meters high. It even covers the back of the mountain. Even the reconnaissance satellites can't find it. There are many wild boars, bears, and other wild beasts. Together with the cloud formation, it forms an isolation zone. Normal people would be scared away if they came here, not to mention that there are even more dangerous arrangements inside. Seeing this, Jiang Tian nodded slightly. This is a typical semi-hidden sect. It is not a dimensional space or a small world. It is in the same world as us. It is just that it is hidden by a mysterious formation. It is difficult for normal people to find it. A disciple opened the lock on the barbed wire gate. Everyone was nervous and expectant as they followed in. Here, the thick fog only allowed them to see 2 to 3 meters. They could also hear the roars of wild beasts. It was scary. Everyone, don't panic. Just follow me. Lin Menghan took out a compass-sized formation plate and tapped on it a few times. Suddenly, the fog dispersed and a winding path appeared. After everyone walked through, the fog immediately closed up. It was very magical. The winding path was bumpy and surrounded by fog. Thorns covered the path and there were a few bloody bones on the ground. Everyone was so scared that they jumped up. This is the fate of those who trespassed at the back of Wu Dang sect. They are courting death. Lin Menghan snorted arrogantly. Those bears and tigers are not decorations. It is not that they do not attack humans, but they are scared of us. Senior Sister Lin is really skilled. The United Bamboo Sects One Chili praised her with a face full of admiration. If you ever visit Taiwan in the future, you must stay at my place for a few days. This old man will be waiting for you. Lin Menghan only smiled indifferently. After walking for 4 to 5 kilometers, they finally passed through the fog formation. Everyone was panting from exhaustion, but Lin Menghan and the other Wu Dang disciples did not have any change in expression. Seeing that everyone was moving slowly, Lin Menghan said impatiently, All right, follow this path slowly. Don't take any crossroads and you will reach Wu Dang sect. Saying this, she led the group of disciples and walked in front. Senior Menghan, wait. Everyone hurriedly followed, afraid that they would meet wild beasts like tigers and bears. Jiang Tian, Zhang Qianlei and Tang Guizhu walked slowly at the back. Along the way, many people tried to bully Jiang Tian and the rest. Why should they stay together and look for trouble? What a thick demonic aura. Old Jiang, do you feel it? Suddenly, Zhang Qianlei was shocked, and his eyes swept over the mountain forest like lightning. Chapter 671. Well, it's the demon god's physique. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful physique on Earth. Jiang Tian's expression was solemn. Without saying a word, he tore through the air with a whoosh and charged toward that demonic qi. Old Jiang, be careful. Let's fight together. It's the first time I've seen such a powerful devil qi. Behind him, Zhang Qianlei also caught up. It's the demon god's physique. He's so fast. At this time, Nie Mingyuan exerted his body movement to the extreme and escaped more than 10 kilometers away in an instant. But suddenly, the Mind Taoist divine soul screamed in horror in Nie Mingyuan's mind. Shut up! Nie Mingyuan turned into a black mist, hiding and running among the strange rocks in the mountain forest. Jiang Tian and Zhang Qianlei did not hesitate. One slashed with the Gingjin Qi weapon, and the other bombarded with thunder and lightning. Nie Mingyuan's gaze swept over Jiang Tian and Zhang Qianlei's figures in the sky, and he couldn't help but gnash his teeth in anger. This guy's cultivation is so powerful now. He can sense my existence from 10 kilometers away, and he's chasing me like a maggot. And the guy who can control thunder is also difficult to deal with. He almost made me vomit blood twice. Demon, stop. With Jiang Tian's shout, Little Black's flying sword broke through the air and slashed at the black mist like lightning. The black mist was penetrated by Little Black's flying sword and quickly dissipated. But in just a breath's time, it rolled and rolled a few kilometers away and suddenly condensed out. Little Black's flying sword flew back to Jiang Tian's hand. Jiang Tian scanned the black mist with his divine sense and could not help frowning. It's the physique of 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 physique. When Jiang Tian was about to chase again, his phone suddenly rang. It was Elder Tang. Master Kong, bad news. Ling Long is in trouble. She killed more than 10 people. Wudong's sect wants to kill her. What? Jiang Tian's face changed slightly. He could only give up on chasing Nie Mingyuan. Without saying a word, he flew toward the Wudong dojo. What's wrong, old Jiang? Keep chasing. Zhang Qianlei shouted as he followed Jiang Tian. I have to hurry back. After Jiang Tian finished explaining the reason, Zhang Qianlei laughed and said, damn, like teacher, like disciple. Old Jiang, your disciple is exactly the same as you. But what's the big deal about killing a few Wu Dang disciples? Chen Onping also wants to bare his teeth? On the other hand, Tang Linglong was meditating and cultivating in her own palace, preparing for the upcoming grand competition of the sect. Suddenly, the entire Wudong training hall was in chaos. The sound of running, shouting, and screaming rose and fell one after another. It was a boiling cauldron of voices. This which should be in the palace. Don't tell me he ran away. That's right. After killing so many people, how could she still dare to stay? Outside the door came the sound of messy footsteps and clamoring, as if there were a lot of people. What's going on? Tang Linglong frowned and stopped cultivating. When she opened the door, she could not help but be shocked and her expression changed drastically. Dozens of Wudong elders, hall masters, elite disciples, and many martial arts experts who came to watch the competition crowded the courtyard. Everyone pulled out their long swords and long sabers. Their eyes were vigilant and full of hatred. When they saw her come out, they took a few steps back like the tide. Seeing this, Tang Linglong knew that it was not good. Could it be that her identity was exposed and the people of Wudong wanted to kill her? What are you doing here with your sabers and swords? You're courting death. I'm the personal disciple of the sect leader. However, Tang Linglong had experienced many big scenes after all. She immediately forced herself to calm down, raised her eyebrows, and shouted loudly. As soon as these words came out, the other elite disciples did not dare to speak. But one of the Wudong sect elders took a step forward and shouted loudly, Tang Linglong, you disguised yourself and came to Wudong sect to steal from us. This is unforgivable. Now, by the order of the sect leader, you have been removed from Wudong sect. Immediately surrender and accept the punishment of the sect leader. This person was Du Feixiang, the law enforcement elder of Wudong sect. He was half a step away from the immortal state and had a high status in the sect. The disciples immediately cheered up when they heard this. It turned out that she had stolen from Wudong's sect to learn from them. Great, she would be severely punished by the sect. If Tang Linglong was punished, then their chances of winning the inter-sect tournament would increase by a few notches. How dare you? How dare you steal from Wudong's sect? You are no different from a thief. Do you want to die? What are you waiting for? Kneel down and surrender now. If the sect leader is merciful, he may spare your life. If you dare to hesitate for one more second, I will cut you into pieces and cut you into pieces. Suddenly, several elite disciples led by Shurjiani pulled out their swords and took a few steps forward. They shouted and threatened fiercely. Tang Linglong knew that the cover had been blown, so she decided to be tough to the end. She raised her chin proudly and snorted. Sect leader Chen knows that I, Tang Linglong, brought the skills to the sect. I have never hidden it from him. What crime have I committed? She was also very alert and had been prepared for this. She had set up a shortcut on her phone so that she could dial her grandfather's number with one click. At this time, she put her right hand in her pocket and quickly pressed a few buttons. When she felt that the call should be connected, she shouted again. Steal from you? Wudong sect's skills are so shallow. Is it worth it for me to steal? Let me tell you, my master is Kong Teichu. I dare you to lay a finger on me. What? Her masters? Kong Teichu? Shurjiani and the other disciples were shocked when they heard this. They subconsciously took a few steps back. The semi-hidden sect had a deep heritage and its disciples were all arrogant. They had always looked down on secular martial artists. But Kong Teichu was different. He was the most powerful overlord in the secular world and was famous for his power. Rumor had it that he had surpassed the immortal state and was half a step away from becoming a mortal immortal. Even sect leader Chen Onping was on par with him. Rumor had it that he was extremely ruthless and vicious. He would kill people at the slightest provocation. He killed everyone in his way. Wherever he went, heads rolled and blood flowed like a river. Who dared to provoke this god of killing? Kong Teichu's disciple? Then you deserve to die. Law enforcement elder Du Feixiang gritted his teeth and said. The Nye family of Jin City supported by Wu Dang was annihilated by him. Chen Qingshan and Chen Xuejiao of Yanjin were killed. The Chen family of Yanjin has fallen into the hands of Kong Teichu. Wu Dang and Kong Teichu are irreconcilable enemies. Du Feixiang, the Nye family of Jin City and the Chen family of Yanjin don't know what's good for them. They want to kill my master. Tang Linglong sneered with disdain. But when did the Diamond Temple offend you? How dare you kill my junior brother? Before Du Feixiang could say anything, a monk holding a Buddhist staff angrily strode out with large strides. Abbot of the Diamond Temple, Master Wuchen. I heard that he is half an immortal state warrior. His junior brother is Zen Master Wugo, right? Was he also killed by the demoness? Seeing this, the onlookers backed away and made a path for the monk. Master Wuchen was tall and muscular, but his face was fierce like a Vajra. He used to be a Buddhist disciple of the Fayun Temple, but he was caught stealing Buddha's bone relics. He killed the abbot and escaped to the Padala Palace to join the Tantric sect. In the Padala Palace, he learned the art of delightful Zen and was discovered by Master Jialan of the Padala Palace. He injured Master Jialan and escaped. In the Tibetan area, he set up his own sect, the Diamond Temple, and called himself abbot. Wu Chen was known as a Buddhist, but in fact he and a few of his disciples had been practicing the shady business of robbing. The Tibetan area was also a treasure land. There were still many famous mountains that had not been opened, and the spiritual qi was rich. Many cultivators practiced asceticism or built a hut there. Since then, the sea was wide and the sky was high. Wu Chen did not rob other things, but he robbed these cultivators and lamas of magic tools, books, and secret cultivation methods. He had a lot of gains. Wu Chen first practiced Zen and then entered the Tantric sect. Over the years, he had killed and robbed, and he had obtained a lot of secret cultivation methods. In the Tibetan area, except for the majestic Kunlun, Monk Wu Chen was invincible. Everyone who heard his name would shudder. Monk, you are slandering me. Tang Linglong raised her eyebrows and said angrily, I have been practicing in the hall today and never went out. When did I kill your junior brother? This demoness is ruthless when she kills people, but now she doesn't dare to admit it. We saw it clearly. You killed Marshal Uncle Wu Go. Demoness, you still don't admit it. This girl is quite beautiful. Won't it be beautiful if we catch her and practice the happy Zen together? Some of the monks shouted angrily, and some smiled wretchedly. They were already tempted. Tang Linglong was very beautiful. Her skin was like jade, and her figure was slender. She was curvaceous and exquisite. She was also the disciple of Kong Teichu and the pro-disciple of the leader of Wudang sect. She had a noble aura. Not to mention sleeping with her, they would be willing to sacrifice 2 years of their life if they could take advantage of the chaos and touch her when they caught her. Tang Linglong had followed Jiang Tian for a long time. She was as arrogant as him. Back then, her cultivation was still weak, but she did not bow down to the old guru Qiaobin. Now, she was comparable to a half-step divine realm master. Bald bastard, you are courting death. Hearing that, Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes were spitting fire. She stared at the monk with a wretched smile. Her body moved, and she passed through the crowd like a butterfly. A ray of cold light flashed, and the long sword was thrust at the monk. The wretched monk was a transcendent state cultivator, and he was powerful in the Tibetan area. Demoness, how dare you hurt me? Amidst the shouts of surprise and anger, the monk used a variety of techniques. He crushed the Buddhist beads and formed a series of Buddhist hand seals with both hands. Suddenly, a protective golden light appeared around his body. Chapter 672. But in the face of such a sharp sword, the powerful Buddha's light was useless. Tang Linglong's sword had the essence of the Taishan 13 swords and was extremely powerful. This sword was like an antelope with a horn, untraceable and untraceable. It passed through layers of defense at an extremely subtle angle, piercing through the monk's protective upstanding chi before piercing through his chest. A stream of blood spurted out from the monk's chest. The monk fell to the ground and died in the blink of an eye. The others were shocked and retreated. After Tang Linglong's attack hit the monk, she immediately retreated more than 10 meters. She held the sword that was dripping with blood and scolded coldly, "This is the result of whoever dares to offend me. Demon girl, how dare you hurt my beloved disciple? I will not rest until you die." Monk Wuchen saw this and could not help but gritted his teeth. He was furious and his killing intent rose to the sky. The disciple that died was actually his son after practicing the joyful Zen with a nun. All these years he brought him along as his disciple and doted on him. But now he was killed by Tang Linglong with a single sword. How could he bear it? Demon girl, you killed my 9-story pagoda's disciple. Today I will take your life too. Kaboom! An old man actually rushed into the courtyard with large strides. Beside him was a colorful, ferocious tiger that was more than 3 meters long. It had a white forehead and a big bloody mouth. Everyone was shocked when they saw this and retreated to make a path for the old man. The old man was dressed in a green robe. He looked powerful and his aura was as deep as the sea. It was obvious that his cultivation was powerful. 9-story pagoda's leader, Gong Yile. It's him. Legend has it that during the Republic of China, he was a close comrade of the traitor, Wang Jingwei. Don't talk nonsense. This person is powerful. During the Republic of China, he was already in the immortal state. I'm afraid that he has already reached the peak of the immortal state. That's right. Do you see the old man behind him? That is his disciple, the leader of the United Bamboo Gang in Taiwan, Wan Chili. The leaders of Hong Kong's and Society, Helian Sheng and Number Gang are all disciples of the 9-story pagoda. Seeing this, someone cried out in surprise and was emotionally moved. During the Republic of China, the 9-story tower was the trump card of the Wang puppet government. It was as powerful as the Hong sect supported by Sun Wen, the Blue Cloth Society and the Green Gang led by Duke Jiang. However, following the collapse of the Wang puppet government and the rise of Yi Tianren, who swept through Huaxia, the 9-story pagoda was defeated and Gong Yile left Huaxia in dejection. For more than 10 years, Gong Yile and the 9-story pagoda traveled between France, England, and other places. It was not until the 1970s when Chiang Kai-shek passed away and the atmosphere in Treasure Island relaxed that they settled down in Treasure Island. After decades of painstaking management, the 9-story pagoda had flourished and was rising again. In Taiwan, Macau, and Hong Kong, the 9-story pagoda secretly established and supported the United Bamboo Gang, Four Seas Gang, Number Gang, and other powerful gangs with tens of thousands of disciples. They were adept at black gold politics. They were able to control the parliament and influence the elections. Gong Yile was in control of both the Jianghu and the imperial court. In Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, Gong Yile's words carried weight and he was a terrifying figure. In the international Chinese community, he was on par with the Singapore Chinese society. Even the gambling king He Hongshan of Macau, the boat king of Taiwan, and Mr. Hong of Hong Kong and United League of Champions, who were extremely wealthy and powerful, had to be respectful to him and treat him as a disciple. Kill the demon girl. Gong Yile swaggered toward Tang Linglong. He flicked his finger and an azure light formed a short blade and shot it at Tang Linglong. Clang! Tang Linglong didn't hold back. She swung her sword and a curtain of blade aura appeared. Bang! The azure short blade clashed with the curtain of blade aura and both shattered. Tang Linglong was knocked back a few steps and spurted out a mouthful of blood. You are indeed Kong Teichu's disciple. You can withstand 10% of my blade aura. Gong Yile's face was filled with admiration. Although Tang Linglong had withstood the attack, she wasn't in a good condition. Her hand was bleeding profusely from the impact. However, she was very unyielding. Even if she lost, she would not lose. She said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, Gong Yile, I didn't kill your disciple. Don't accuse me. Don't you dare lay a finger on me. My Shifu will not let you off the hook. He will destroy your 9-story pagoda. My Shifu is a half-step immortal. He can kill you as easily as killing a chicken. You little brat. You are about to die and yet you are still so stubborn. Do you know that your Shifu will not come? Under the escort of many outer house disciples, Lin Menghan strode into the courtyard and sneered arrogantly. Your grandfather is already in my hands. Quickly throw down your sword, admit defeat, and surrender. Lin Menghan, how dare you attack an 80-year-old old man? Do you have any shame? Tang Linglong's expression changed drastically. She saw Tang Guizhu being held hostage by 2 Wudong disciples with swords on his neck. What made her even sadder was that her Shifu was not coming. Did she not have a place in her Shifu's heart? But then she thought about it. If her Shifu was here, he might not be able to hold off so many immortal men. She heaved a sigh of relief. Your Shifu destroyed the Nye family and the other 3 big families in Jin City. I went to investigate but was suppressed by him. Isn't this the law of the jungle? Lin Menghan said with hatred. Now, I am the knife and you are the meat on my chopping block. Little brat, you better accept reality. She stuck out her unusually full chest, causing many male disciples to stare at her with their eyes wide open. They said arrogantly, Tang Linglong, drop your sword and admit defeat immediately. Otherwise, I will kill your grandfather. As soon as she finished her words, one of the Wudong disciples slashed Tang Guizhu's neck with his sword. Tang Guizhu was bleeding profusely. You are despicable. Shameless. Tang Linglong was filled with hatred. But she had no choice but to throw the sword on the ground. Linglong run. Don't worry about me. Tang Guizhu was shocked to see this. Grandpa, I can't run. What will you do if I run? Tang Linglong said with tears in her eyes. A few Wudong disciples immediately stepped forward and tied her up with handcuffs and ropes. Despicable? So what? As long as I can kill Kong Teichu, it will be enough. Lin Menghan was smug when she saw this. She said with disdain. Besides, I have to thank you for killing so many people. Actually, many forces did not want to be Kong Teichu's enemy. But since you killed them, they have no choice but to kill Kong Teichu. I didn't kill anyone from the beginning to the end. Tang Linglong said angrily. Despicable and shameless people. If you want to kill me, then go ahead. You don't have to find so many righteous reasons. You are just flattering yourselves. Kill you? What's the point of killing you? Our target is Kong Taechu. Lin Menghan hugged her sword and smiled proudly. Our sect leader said that he wanted to pass the position to you in order to lure Kong Taechu to the Wu Dang sect tournament so that we can cut him into pieces. But we didn't expect him to be so cunning and cowardly. But is it okay if he doesn't come? If he doesn't come, we will cut off one of his limbs every day until he comes to Wu Dang sect. By then, he will be surrounded by immortal state warriors and human immortals. We will kill him. What? I will take responsibility for what I did. You can kill me, but don't hurt my master. Tang Linglong's face turned pale as despair filled her heart. She didn't expect that the enemy had already known about this and set up such a vicious trap. Rumor had it that her master had reached the level of a half-step human immortal. However, Wu Dang Temple's Grandmaster Wu Qin, Wu Dang Sect Master Chen Onping, Gong Yile of the 9-story pagoda, and many other immortal realm experts. Take her away. Lin Menghan didn't want to waste any more time with her. She waved her hand and a few disciples escorted Tang Linglong to the dungeon behind the mountain. At this moment, an angry roar suddenly sounded. Stop! How dare you offend Kong Taechu's disciple? A young man in an azure robe stepped out from the crowd and shouted at the top of his lungs. Everyone's eardrums buzzed and they felt dizzy. Behind him was an ordinary-looking middle-aged man. His face was expressionless and he didn't reveal his true strength. This was Jiang Tian, who had disguised himself as Xiao Wei. However, most people wouldn't notice him. Who is this man? Many people stared at Zhang Qianlei and exclaimed, Aren't you Tang Guizhu's guard? Why are you a martial arts expert? Lin Menghan asked in disbelief. Oh, you are Zhang Qianlei, the heavenly master of the Republic of China. My old friend, please forgive me for not coming out to meet you. Gong Yile cupped his fists and said, This man had long black hair, sharp eyebrows, and a domineering aura. He was none other than Zhang Qianlei. What? He's Zhang Qianlei. Lin Menghan's expression changed drastically. The Heavenly Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain used to be a semi-hidden sect. However, due to the suppression of the Heavenly Master Jiang, the sect's heritage was almost cut off. However, in the Republic of China, Zhang Qianlei was as famous as Chen Onping. How could she not be shocked? Old Gong, you and Wang Jingwei are traitors. Don't try to get close to me. Zhang Qianlei sneered. Let her go. Otherwise, we will flatten the Wu Dang mountain. Don't talk about it anymore. When Gong Yile heard this, his old face turned red. He was both embarrassed and angry. Then he asked in a low voice, Brother Lei, are you really going to stand up for Kong Taechu today? So what if I am? Zhang Qianlei retorted. Grandmaster Wu Qin snorted. Zhang Qianlei, didn't you lose to Kong Taechu? Why are you speaking up for him? Don't you have any shame? Old Jiang and I are heroes who cherish heroes. However, we shook hands and called each other brothers after a draw. What do you know, bald donkey? Zhang Qianlei cursed. He then pointed at Lin Menghan and said, Stupid girl, let him go. Lin Menghan was afraid of Zhang Qianlei. However, she believed that with so many sect masters, fellow disciples, and allies present in the Wudong training hall, how could Zhang Qianlei dare to touch her? Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? I won't let her go. What can you do? Lin Menghan's little princess temper exploded. She puffed up her chest and raised her jade-white chin as she snorted arrogantly. You brainless bitch, I have tolerated you for a long time. Zhang Qianlei glared at Lin Menghan. He raised his hand and a flash of lightning shot towards Lin Menghan. Chapter 673. Bang! Lin Menghan's chest was penetrated by a bolt of lightning. Electric sparks flickered all over her body as black smoke billowed out and a pungent burnt smell rose. In less than a second, she was completely carbonized and died an unnatural death. Zhang Qianlei stomped Lin Menghan's body into pieces. Everyone was so shocked that their hearts skipped a beat. Fuck you! Let's see who dares to stop me. Even if Chen Onping is here, he will have to get out of here. Zhang Qianlei was enraged as he shouted. He flicked his fingers and the wind from his palms were as sharp as knives. He moved like a blazing flame, and his momentum was like a thunderbolt. In just a few moves he had killed several disciples and sent them flying. Then he grabbed Tang Guizhu and Tang Linglong, protecting them behind him. Zhang Qianlei, Wu Dang sect has no grudge against you. How dare you kill my disciples? Zhang Qianlei, you have gone too far. Wu Dang sect will fight you to the death today. Everyone was shocked and angry, but no one dared to step forward and fight with Zhang Qianlei. Brother Qianlei, you used to be the sect master of a sect. How dare you attack a few juniors? Suddenly, a figure in a Taoist robe appeared in the air. The man's sleeves fluttered in the wind as he was surrounded by clouds. His temperament was otherworldly and he looked like an immortal. He floated to the roof of a large hall. His body was as straight as a sword, and he looked down at the crowd with his sharp eyes. Then he swung his sleeves and said proudly, "You bully the weak and fear the strong. You have gone too far. Greetings, sect master." Many elders, leaders and disciples of Wu Dang sect knelt down as if they had seen a god. Welcome perfected Cultivator Onping. May perfected Cultivator Onping live for thousands of years. Superman Li, the richest man in Hong Kong, He Hongqian, Wan Qili of the Bamboo Alliance, and other tycoons and magnates also knelt on the ground as if they had seen a god. Their eyes were full of fanaticism and reverence. The man was the sect master of Wu Dang sect, Qin Onping. Zhang Qianlei's aura was not weak at all. He smirked and said, "Chen Onping, you attacked a little girl like Tang Linglong. It's not that honorable, is it?" He shook his head and said calmly, "I'm telling you, old Jiang will be here soon. I advise you to stop right now. Set up a few tables and wine, then bow your head and admit your mistake. I'll help you mediate. Otherwise, you'll definitely die a horrible death." Kong Teichu is coming? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place turned solemn. Everyone's expression changed drastically, revealing a deep sense of fear. The semi-hidden sects had always treated the secular world as ants. But Jiang Tian was different. Rumor had it that he was already a half-step human immortal. He was the #1 expert from the secular world and could stand shoulder to shoulder with the leaders of semi-hidden sections. Is Master really coming? He has me in his heart. That must be it. Only Tang Linglong looked excited. Her beautiful eyes were shining, and her heart was overflowing with tenderness. "You idiot, don't talk nonsense." Elder Tang shook his head helplessly and glanced at Jiang Tian, who had transformed into Little Wei. "Kong Teichu is coming." Hearing this, Chen Onping's pupils constricted. His expression was uncertain as thoughts flashed through his mind. If Jiang Tian came with his forces, he still had a 70% chance of winning. But with the addition of Zhang Qianlei, the #1 thunder expert of the Taoist sect, his chances of winning were probably only 50%. Thinking of this, Chen Onping chuckled. "Fellow Taoist Qianlei, Jiang Tian is ruthless and merciless. He kills people at the slightest provocation. He's not a good person. If you're friends with him, we won't let you go. Even if we care about friendship and don't kill you, you'll still be dancing with wolves and asking a tiger for its skin. I'm afraid you won't have a good ending." His jade-like face shone brightly, and his eyes were merciful and compassionate. He had the demeanor of a Taoist expert. "I found out that Jiang Taichu obtained a fortuitous encounter and possesses a map fragment and a miraculous inheritance of the ruins of immortality. Why don't we join forces to kill Jiang Taichu and force him to hand over the map fragment and his cultivation technique?" "That's right, Qianlei, don't make a mistake. Quickly abandon the darkness and join the light." Gong Yile persuaded him. "Fellow Taoist Zhang, I must kill Tang Linglong and Kong Teichu today. If you don't change your mind, I'll have no choice but to kill you." Grandmaster Wu Qin threatened fiercely. "Heavenly Master Zhang, Kong Teichu's inheritance is extraordinary. If you and I can get it, we'll be able to reach the top immediately." An elder of the Hong sect tried to tempt Qin Fan. "Shut up." Zhang Qianlei widened his bell-sized eyes and roared like a thunderclap. Then, he said proudly, Old Jiang and I are as close as brothers, and we are true friends. Old Jiang has already told me the secret of the ruins of immortality, and he still wants to teach me the cultivation method. He shook his head and said smugly, "But I found my own way and formed my own sect. Why would I cultivate his cultivation method?" At this point, Zhang Qianlei felt extremely depressed. He was frustrated and frustrated. Old Jiang is such a Scrooge. He wants me to be his servant every day. Otherwise, there's no room for negotiation. Zhang Qianlei, you're so shameless. Go to hell. Seeing Zhang Qianlei's stubbornness, Chen Anping raised his right hand and slapped at Zhang Qianlei. This palm had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Streaks of green aura condensed into a 10-meter-long giant palm and pressed down. True martial demon sweeping palm. It was said to be the inheritance of Emperor Zhenwu and a supreme art of the Taoist sect. When this art was cultivated to the highest level, it could summon the spirit qi of heaven and earth and form a supreme killing move without chanting. Boom! Zhang Qianlei's body was as tall as a mountain and his black hair fluttered like a waterfall. He took a step forward and punched. With this punch, the void within a radius of 10 meters trembled. Lightning shot out and formed a huge lightning fist that blasted toward the giant palm. The power of the lightning was unimaginable. Even a mortal deity of the same generation wouldn't dare to fight with it. The heavenly thunder divine fist was the supreme art of the celestial master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Zhang Qianlei had been cultivating for decades, but he still couldn't master it. After the battle with Jiang Tian, his cultivation had improved and stabilized as a half-step mortal deity, so he could finally use it at will. Boom! The lightning fist broke through the air and smashed the giant azure palm. It didn't lose its momentum and continued to blast at Chen Anping. Oh no! Chen Anping was alarmed. He stepped on the air and flew up to the sky, dodging the punch. Boom! A majestic palace was shattered by the lightning fist. Smoke and dust billowed, bricks and tiles flew in all directions, houses collapsed, and the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Chen Anping was shocked and his heart skipped a beat. How did this old man's cultivation improve by leaps and bounds? He could even break the true martial demon's sweeping palm. Even if Zhang Qianlei was protected by the Song and Lu families, the cultivation resources he obtained from the mortal world were still incomparable to the Wu-Tang sect. No, I have to kill him as soon as possible. Otherwise, Kang Teichu will come and it will be even more troublesome. It might be the end of my sect. Chen Anping was anxious. He slapped his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. A peerless Dharma treasure appeared in the bloodlight. It was an ancient seal with a spirit turtle and a black snake carved on it. It was simple and unadorned and was only the size of an egg. Black tortoise turtle and snake support each other. After all, they are related. Chen Anping's face was stern as he chanted an incantation. The seal expanded in the wind and the spirit turtle and the black snake on it suddenly appeared. They turned into two rays of light, one yin and one yang, one black and one white. The two rays of light intertwined with each other and surged toward Zhang Qianlei. Chen Anping followed the two rays of light and rushed forward. He used the true martial demon's sweeping palm and slapped at Zhang Qianlei. The true martial great emperor's seal. That's the most precious treasure of the Wu-Tang sect. Oh my God, that's a real Dharma treasure. It's too powerful. A wisp of the spirit turtle and black snake's light can crush a grandmaster and kill an immortal state warrior. Zhang Qianlei, why don't you give up and admit defeat? Tang Linglong, how long are you going to wait? Many Wu-Tang disciples exclaimed in shock. Their eyes were wide open and their faces were full of anticipation and excitement. Zhang Qianlei is dead this time. Even Gong Yao looked excited. That's a Dharma treasure passed down by the true martial great emperor. Its power is earth-shattering. Wu Chun of the Titanium Temple was also shocked and envious. A spirit treasure. That's a spirit treasure. Only Wu-Tang sect has such a powerful Dharma treasure. Huh? It's a real Dharma treasure. It even looks like a spirit treasure. Seeing this, Jiang Tian's pupils shrank and he was slightly shocked. The spirit turtle and the black snake on it were attached to a trace of the two divine beasts' souls. Although they were not artifact spirits refined by cultivators, their essence was the same. They had spirituality and could attack on their own. Damn, the ancient Wudang sect is really rich. I'm in danger this time. Seeing this, Zhang Qianlei was shocked. He stepped into the sky and performed the heavenly thunder fist to the extreme. Boom, boom. His movements were bold and unyielding, and he threw out 7 or 8 punches in a row. Everyone knew that Zhang Qianlei's cultivation was definitely not inferior to Chen Anping's, but in terms of Dharma treasures, he was much weaker. The ancient Wudang sect was a semi-hidden sect. They secretly supported their strength in the secular world and had a good relationship with the government. Not only did they preserve their orthodoxy, but they also collected a lot of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. But the Celestial Master sect was too weak. Back then, most of the disciples followed Baldi Jiang to Bao Island and gradually died in the struggle. As for the part left in Huaxia, it was already incomplete. It had also been severely suppressed by various forces and had experienced the catastrophe of the Four Olds movement. Basically, the orthodoxy and Dharma treasures of the Celestial Master sect were all lost. Sure enough, the 2 Dharma treasures easily dodged Zhang Qianlei's lightning fist and Chen Anping's vicious palm. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of him. Master Zhang is in danger. Tang Linglong exclaimed. Her face was full of shock. Don't worry, it's just a spirit treasure. Besides, it's been too long and its power is about to fade. He won't be in any danger. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. He didn't look at the 2 people in the sky at all. Instead, he looked at the depths of the rolling sea of clouds with a strange expression. Who is this person? How can he be so calm? At this time, some Wudang disciples noticed the calm Jiang Tian and were secretly surprised. But they immediately turned their eyes to Zhang Qianlei and Chen Anping in the sky. Looking at the situation, the winner was about to be decided. Chapter 674. At the critical moment, Zhang Qianlei flicked his sleeves and 7 small swords flew out. These small swords were the disposable flying swords made by Jiang Tian. They could kill a helicopter and penetrate a battleship. However, Zhang Qianlei treated them as treasures and refined them into miniature versions that were easier to carry around. Once the small swords were thrown out, they immediately turned into 4-inch long swords and were extremely sharp. The thunder palm inlaid on them let out tens of thousands of lightning bolts. The 7 long swords were like thunder dragons emerging from the sea, shaking the void as they charged toward Chen Anping with an indomitable will. Rumble! There were a series of explosions. The spirit turtle and black snake's light was immediately shattered by the lightning and couldn't be reformed in a short time. Chen Anping's heart was alarmed. He used the ancient Wudang footwork, the Big Dipper steps, and retreated quickly. Suddenly, blood spurted out and he let out a scream. One of the flying swords had cut his shoulder. The wound was so deep that his bones could be seen. His body was also charred by the lightning and his hair stood up like a broom. Zhang Qianlei stood proudly in the void, unscathed. His azure robe was dusty and he obviously still had energy left. After one blow, the winner was decided. Zhang Qianlei is so powerful. He can even break the Xianwu seal of the sect master. That sword flashing with lightning. It's terrifying. Many Wudang disciples suddenly felt as if their parents had died. They secretly complained in their hearts, and their morale plummeted. Flying swords? When did you master the flying sword art? Seeing that there were actually a few cracks on the seal, Chen Anping's heart skipped a beat and he became flustered and exasperated. Although he had already become a half-step human immortal and his body was strong enough to withstand the lightning, the damage to his spirit treasure was a loss he couldn't bear. The flying sword art had been cut off after the Ming dynasty. Rumor had it that only Kunlun still had this secret art. The Heavenly Master sect had always been good at thunder arts and didn't know anything about flying swords. When did he learn such a powerful skill? Old Jiang gave it to me. How is it? It's good, right? Let's go. At this time, the 7 flying swords had already returned to his hand. Zhang Qianlei made a hand seal and was about to attack again. Wait. Chen Onping didn't panic. Instead, a trace of ruthlessness flashed across his face and he sneered. Zhang Qianlei, you and I are both old monsters who have lived for over 100 years. No one is a fool. My painstaking plan was to kill Kong Teichu. If I didn't have 100% confidence, do you think I would even think about it? Shriek. In the depths of the sea of clouds, an eagle's cry suddenly rang out. It was resounding and sharp, and it shot straight into the clouds. Subsequently, the sea of clouds roiled and surged uneasily like tidewater, and then it gradually dispersed. A huge black eagle with a wingspan of more than 10 meters glided out like a cloud in the sky. An old man stood on the rock-like back of the eagle. This old man's hair and beard were all white. He wore a long green robe, but his aura was heavy and vast like 10,000 mountains. He carried a curved blade on his back. Sidiyuan Luo, the leader of the Hong sect. When they saw this, some older generation figures were alarmed. Their faces were filled with shock, as if they had seen a ghost. Amateus Buddha, I didn't expect Brother Situ to still be as elegant as ever even after a few decades. Master Wuchen of the Jin Gang Temple chanted the name of Buddha. He lowered his head, put his palms together, and bowed slightly to show the highest respect for the visitor. I didn't know that sect leader Chen had such a powerful trump card. He has already reached the mortal deity level. With him around, our trip here was in vain. Gong Yile, the sect leader of the 9-story pagoda, let out a wry smile and shook his head. His tone was sour, with 3 parts jealousy, 3 parts fear, 3 parts indignation, and 1 part respect. Many years ago, the Hong sect supported Sun Wen, while the 9-story pagoda supported the traitor Wang Jingwei. They belonged to different factions and viewed each other as enemies. However, Gong Yile was no match for Sidiyuan Luo. He had thought that he would be able to defeat Sidiyuan Luo after a few decades of hard work. However, to his surprise, Sidiyuan Luo's power was even more powerful than his. He is the ancestral master of the Hong sect? Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed as he looked at the old man standing on the giant eagle. A probing look flashed in his eyes. The old man looked very much like the divine soul avatar of the Hong sect's ancestral master that Jiang Tian had met on Big Turtle Island. However, the divine soul avatar looked like a young Confucian scholar, while the old man looked like an old man. No, the ancestral master of the Hong sect was Situ Shao of the Qing dynasty. He was the founder of the Hong sect. Zhang Qianlei's face darkened when he saw Sidiyuan Hao. He sent a message to Jiang Tian using his soul energy. This Sidiyuan Hao is Situ Zhao's distant nephew. He is also his disciple. After that, the Hong sect expanded overseas and became known as the Global Hong sect. The Hong sect that stayed in Huaxia was known as the Mainland Hong sect or the Chinese Hong sect. Sidiyuan Hao is the leader of the Chinese Hong sect. However, this young man is not to be underestimated. I heard that he has inherited 80% of Situ Zhao's knowledge. He had reached the half-step to immortal state in the 1940s. Yi Tianren had tried to hunt him down 3 times, but he managed to escape each time. I see. This young man is a mortal deity. I don't think you can do it. Jiang Tian reminded Zhang Qianlei. He is a mortal deity. I think the ancestral master of the Hong sect is already an earth-level deity. Zhang Qianlei's face darkened. Meanwhile, Sidiyuan Hao's black eagle had landed on the roof of a large hall. He dismounted from the back of the eagle and linked his hands behind his back. He looked at Zhang Qianlei and said with a cold smile, "Brother Qianlei, congratulations on becoming a half-step to mortal deity. However, you should change your temper. You don't look like a Taoist master. What a joke. Stop bluffing. What kind of Taoist master are you?" Zhang Qianlei retorted. Idiot. Sidiyuan Hao's face darkened and he said coldly, "Jiang Taichu and his disciples have repeatedly committed heinous crimes. They killed Situ Jie and Madame Yixian. Their crimes are truly unforgivable. You are helping a tiger do evil by associating with him, casting pearls before swine. Chen Onping's confidence was boosted by Sidu Yuanhao's arrival. He was a real mortal deity. He laughed complacently and said, "That's right. Zhang Qianlei, you have made a grave mistake. But since we are both disciples of the Huaxia Taoist sect, I will spare your life if you surrender now. Zhang Qianlei, don't think that you can use your flying swords as your trump card. Mr. Situ can break your flying swords with ease." Gong Yile also shook his head disdainfully. "Yeah, Zhang Qianlei, are those flying swords your trump card?" Wu Chen said sarcastically. Zhang Qianlei was a half-step to mortal deity and was not easy to kill. However, there was a mortal deity, a half-step to mortal deity and 2 immortal state warriors. Even if Kong Teichu was here, he might not be able to defeat them. Zhang Qianlei was only a half-step to mortal deity. If everyone worked together, they would be able to take him out in 15 minutes. "His trump card is me." Suddenly, Jiang Tian shouted and took a step forward. Then, in front of everyone's shocked eyes, Jiang Tian ascended to the sky step by step as if he was stepping on an invisible ladder. This. Seeing this, many disciples of Wu Dang sect were shocked. An expert! He Hongchen, Superman Li, Wan Qili and the other secular people were also shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect that this ordinary-looking young man, who should be Elder Tang's guard, was an immortal state warrior. "I am Kong Teichu, the sect master of the Taiching sect overseas. Nice to meet you." Jiang Tian walked in the air with his hands behind his back and said coldly, "You are Kong Teichu." Suddenly, Chen Onping, Si Yuanhao, Gong Yile and Wu Chen's faces changed drastically and their eyes were filled with fear. "He's here. After all, I am still in his heart." Tang Linglong looked at Jiang Tian in the sky and her body shook violently. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her heart was filled with tenderness and she felt that it would be worth it even if she were to die. Everyone was stunned for half a minute. Chen Onping's face changed a few times before he came to his senses. "Brother Jiang, I am sorry that I did not welcome you earlier." He cupped his fist and bowed. Then, he flicked his sleeve and asked with a cold look in his eyes. "Your disciple Tang Linglong hid her identity and secretly learned from Wu Dang sect. She is unforgivable. You must be the one who arranged this. You are a grandmaster after all. Don't you feel ashamed to play such dirty tricks?" Wu Dang sect's Dharma spells are rubbish. Even if she is my disciple, I wouldn't care about it. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeve and said with a disdainful smile. "Tang Linglong is willing to become a disciple of Wu Dang sect. It is your fortune to learn from each other and improve your cultivation. Why are you still grumbling here? You're so insensible. Kong Teichu, you really don't know what's good for you." The ancient Wu Dang sect's Dharma spells were passed down from Zhenwu Great Emperor. They are so mysterious that you have no right to comment on them. Elder Du Feixiang of Wu Dang sect pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, "Shut up. This is a conversation between our sect masters. Who do you think you are to interrupt?" Jiang Tian raised his hand and shot out a ray of finger aura. The ray of finger aura was golden and was engraved with countless Dharma inscriptions. It was deadly and could absorb blood essence and divine soul. It could kill a half-step immortal state warrior instantly. Sure enough, Du Feixiang didn't even have time to react before his head exploded. Red and white matter sprayed all over the ground. "What? That's too cruel. He is so powerful." Many Wudang disciples and martial artists cried out in alarm when they saw this, as if they had seen a ghost. Du Feixiang was an elder of Wu Dang sect. He was powerful enough to withstand the attacks of machine guns and cannonballs. If they were in the secular world, they would be able to dominate a region. They could even become the leader of the Huaxia Dragon Group and be relied on by the country. However, he was killed by Qin Fan with a single finger. He Hongchen, Wan Qili and the other mortals were scared out of their wits. They trembled and broke out in cold sweat. As for the Malaysian noblewoman, she was so scared that she screamed and peed on the spot. Just now on the Golden Cup carriage, they repeatedly disrespected Jiang Tian and Zhang Qianlei. Fortunately, Chen Fan's target was Wu Dang sect. Otherwise, they would have died. They had just brushed shoulders with the Grim Reaper. Kong Taechu, you are too arrogant. How dare you kill someone in front of the Wudang sect? You have gone too far. Chen Onping was so angry that his body trembled and he felt like his lungs were about to explode. Jiang Tian's behavior was a slap to the face of Wudang sect. Chapter 675. After killing Du Feixiang, Jiang Tian acted as if nothing had happened. He said leisurely, Sect leader Chen, your cultivation is still SOSO, but your ability to lead the sect is really terrible. Look at how unruly this elder is. I'll teach him a lesson for you. You don't have to thank me. After all, we're friends. If you want to learn the way of controlling people, why don't you become my disciple and join the Taiqing sect? You can be an elder or a hall master or something. You've also taught Linglong some skills, so I won't charge you. I'll become your disciple and you won't charge me anything. Hearing this, Chen Onping was so angry that he almost fainted on the spot. He was so angry that he laughed and said, Good. As expected of Kong Taechu, the #1 cultivation genius in the secular world. You really have the momentum of swallowing the world and sweeping the world. However, your disciple Tang Linglong killed 13 people in the Wudang dojo. How can we sit back and do nothing? If you hand over the inheritance of cultivation methods and the map of the ruins of immortality as compensation, we'll spare her life. Otherwise, Chen Onping, in fact, I can kill all of you with a snap of my fingers. Jiang Tian smiled lazily and interrupted Chen Onping's blabbering. Then, he said seriously, however, although I, Kong Taechu, am arrogant and invincible in the world, there are some things that I can't take the blame for. This matter was not done by Tang Linglong, but by someone else. Master Kong, this matter must be done by this demon girl. We saw it with our own eyes. How can it be fake? A Wudang elder stepped forward and argued for this matter. However, he did not dare to offend Jiang Tian because of Du Feixiang's example. Instead, he bowed and cupped his fists with a sincere attitude. There are more than tens of thousands of methods to change one's appearance. It's just that you don't know anything about it because your knowledge is shallow. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, the bones in Jiang Tian's entire body suddenly expanded and contracted, his muscles trembled and bulged, his black hair grew longer, and his rough and dark skin instantly became white and translucent like jade. In the blink of an eye, he transformed from a rough middle-aged man into a handsome gung-metal divine body with black hair and black eyes. Look, what you see may not be true. Looking at the horrified crowd, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. The real culprit can change his shape at will. His demonic aura is torrential, and his murderous aura is fierce. It's the suppressing hell demon body that's hard to come by in 1,000 years. I warn you, be careful. Furthermore, if my disciple really did kill someone, I'll kill him. Why did you kill him in public? Why didn't you run away afterwards? Waiting for you to kill me? Jiang Tian spoke earnestly, as if he was lamenting his misfortune and angry at his failure to fight. He shook his head and sighed. Everyone, it's not good to be uneducated. Other than cultivation, you have to read more books. Where is your IQ? When the Wudang experts heard the crisp sound of the slap, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. This was simply a humiliation. It was a slap in the face. Chen Onping thought about it and also felt that something was amiss. However, Jiang Taichu had always been decisive in killing. Now that things had turned out like this, how could he possibly let the matter rest? They were riding a tiger and had no way to back down. Before he could say anything, Sidi Yuanhao, the leader of the Hong sect, stepped forward and let out a vicious grin. Kong Taechu, did you kill my brother, Sidu Jie? Sidu Jie? That name sounds familiar. But I have killed too many people, so I can't remember who he is. I can't remember anyone under the immortal state. Jiang Tian scratched his head and racked his brains. What he meant was that Situ Jie's cultivation was too weak, and he didn't deserve to be remembered. Big Turtle Island in the Pacific Ocean. Sidi Yuanhao was so angry that he almost died from anger after hearing Jiang Tian's words. Oh, it's him. Jiang Tian pretended to be enlightened. He cracked a smile and said, I wanted to kill Fan Liuji, the leader of the Great Circle. He was only half a step away from immortal state. I had no choice but to kill him with a flick of my finger. Sidi Yuanhao gritted his teeth and said, Do you know that those who kill will be killed by others? Today I will kill you to avenge my brother. Ah, don't be such a hypocrite. Don't you think it's embarrassing to act like you have a grudge against me? Jiang Tian cracked a smile and said, In the end, it's just a matter of killing and robbing others of their treasures and cultivation arts. Actually, we have the same idea. We also want to rob you of your treasures. But if you are willing to give me your treasures, I won't kill you. The Taiching sect has just been established and we need more people. I will give you a chance. Kneel down and submit to me. I promise you a bright future. That's right. Master Kong is giving you a chance. Why don't you kneel down and beg for mercy? This is a rare opportunity. Don't waste it. Zhang Qianlei laughed and said, This kid is too arrogant. He can't be forgiven. The lid has been lifted. We have to kill him. We have nowhere to run. Kill him. Seeing this, Sidi Yuanhao, Chen Anping, Gong Yile, and Master Wuchen looked at each other and communicated with each other using their soul energy. Then, four figures stepped on the void and rose from the ground, closing in on Jiang Tian from all directions. In addition, the 8 elders of Wu Dang were supported by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Their bodies were like dragons, rising steadily. These people were all half-step immortal state cultivators. They surrounded Jiang Tian from the outside. What a grand lineup. 1 human deity, 1 half-step human deity, and 2 peak immortal state cultivators. 4 of them are going to kill Kong Teichu alone. The 8 elders have also joined the fight. This time, the sect has really put in a lot of effort to kill Kong Teichu. Kong Teichu is dead meat. He is only a half-step human deity. How can he fight against so many experts? This is the battle of 1,000 years. This time, Wu Dang has turned out in full force. Our good friends have also joined the fight. Many disciples of Wu Dang were watching from below, their eyes full of shock and excitement. If this kind of earth-shattering battle was spread outside, it would definitely shake the world. Even in the semi-hidden sects, it was rare to see such a battle. Silly girl, retreat. Once the experts of this level fight, the mountains will collapse and the earth will crack. A hall leader's eyes were full of fear. He shouted loudly and pulled his disciples back quickly. Let's go. Watch from afar. Zhang Qianlei said. I'm not leaving. I want to fight with my master. Tang Linglong said stubbornly. You are still not strong enough. You can't help. You will only cause trouble. Zhang Qianlei was annoyed beyond words. He grabbed Tang Linglong with one hand and Tang Guizhu with the other and soared into the sky, shooting towards a distant palace. Let me go. Tang Linglong's eyes were filled with tears. She turned her head and looked with a worried face. She said in a trembling voice, Will my master be in danger? Did I harm my master? They have a human immortal among them. It's nothing. Zhang Qianlei smiled and said, Your master has long wanted to flatten the major sects and kill them for their treasures. Wu Dang wants to kill you. Just give him a reason. Only when one arrived at his level would one realize how deep and terrifying Jiang Tian's cultivation was, and it was unfathomable and peerless. Zhang Qianlei felt that no one could hurt Jiang Tian unless they were sky immortals or nuclear weapons. Today, I will vanquish demons and get rid of a scourge for the world. Monk Wuchen, who was behind Jiang Tian, was the first to attack. He raised his Buddha staff and smashed it down on Jiang Tian. Suddenly, the void trembled. A golden light turned into the shadow of a Buddhist staff and stretched across the sky. It was filled with Buddhist light and scriptures flowed, blooming with thousands of golden light. Obviously, its power was so strong that it seemed to be able to crack the earth. Demon subduing pestle. In the distance, a martial arts master saw this and let out a cry of surprise. This move was the ultimate technique of Tibetan Buddhism, the most powerful technique of the Padala Palace. It was said that the Shaolin demon subduing staff technique and the Vajra staff technique of the Heavenly Dragon Temple were all derived from this set of Tibetan Buddhism subduing staff technique. This subduing staff technique was strong and sharp. It could cut off worries and eliminate demons. It contained the spiritual power of Buddha's wisdom, emptiness, truth, and wisdom. Its power was strong enough to crush a mountain. Sigh, Kong Techu, you are indeed good, but you are too stubborn. It seems that you can only die today. Gong Yile sighed and waved his hands. Immediately, 108 snow-white flying daggers flapped their wings and flew out like butterflies, attacking Jiang Tian, who was covering the sky and covering the earth. These were not real flying knives, but condensed qi into weapons. Cicada flying knives. Someone recognized Gong Yile's unique skill, which had shocked the Republic of China back then. These qi knives lived up to their name. They were as thin as cicada's wings and green as if they were carved out of jade. Although they were condensed from qi, they were extremely condensed and sharp. Each one of them could pierce through a tank. Clang. Chen Onping used the true martial Dharma seal again. But this time, his Dharma power seemed to be 10 times stronger than before. The spirit turtle's treasure light formed a shield and the black snake's treasure light turned into a bright and cold sword qi. It suddenly disappeared and crossed a few hundred meters in the next second, arriving in front of Jiang Tian. This sword light was like the horn of an antelope, extremely exquisite. It had the power to sweep across the world and kill all living things. It could be said that both the speed and the power of the attack made by Tian Lei and his wife's Mount Shu sword technique pale in comparison. Kong Techu, you must die today. Sidu Yuanhao also attacked. His eyes were cold as he formed a hand seal. The sword on his back moved without any wind and let out a sad cry. In the next moment, the long sword jumped out of the scabbard. The tip of the sword turned, and like a shooting star, it attacked Jiang Tian. The art of sword wielding of the Situ family. Star competing sword. It's faster than a shooting star and more powerful than a galaxy. This attack is as powerful as the flying blade of the ancient sword immortals. No wonder he is Situ Zhao's disciple. He is a real mortal deity. Some overlords exclaimed from afar. Legend had it that Situ Zhao, the founder of the Hong sect, used to be a transport worker. On the Tiger Beach of the Jialing River, his boat hit a rock and he fell into the water. Fortunately, he found a coffin at the bottom of the river. There was a peerless sword art carved on the inner wall of the coffin. It was the inheritance of the ancient sword immortals. He painstakingly dragged the coffin ashore and cultivated bitterly for 10 years before he finally broke out of seclusion. In a single night, one man and one sword fought hundreds of miles away, and even suppressed the 8 Chao gangs. He gained a fearsome reputation. With the support of these 8 Chao gang, he raised the banner of fighting the Qing and restoring the Ming, and established the Tian Di Hui, which was the embryonic form of the Hong sect. Situ Yuanhao had only learned a small part of the art of sword wielding of the Situ family, but he had already reached the mortal deity level. One mortal deity, one half of the mortal deity level, and 2 peak stage immortal state warriors. 4 peak stage overlords attacked Jiang Tian together. Such an attack was earth-shattering and would make any overlord tremble in fear. Even if Celestial Yi was here, he would have to be cautious. Chapter 676. A mortal immortal. The power of this sword is enough to destroy a cruiser. Someone looked at the star competition sword that was like a silver dragon in amazement, dazzled by it. The combined attack of 4 pinnacle powerhouses is too frightening. Even if Kong Techu is an immortal, he won't be able to escape. When the Wudong 8 elders who were surrounding Jiang Tian saw this, their eyes were filled with shock, and a look of longing appeared on their faces. They had all reached the immortal state and were more powerful than Xiao Bin and Wang Chongyan. They were on par with Miyamoto Genichi. If they were in the mortal world, they would be on the same level as the head of state and enjoy all the glory and wealth. In order to find the secret of immortal ascension, they didn't want to leave the mountain and cultivate here. They were also very powerful, But at this moment, compared with the monstrous cultivation of the four people, they felt that they were far behind. "Master, be careful." Only Tang Linglong covered her mouth with her hand. Her face turned pale and her heart almost jumped out of her throat. She was worried about Jiang Tian and regretted it. If she didn't think that she was smart, her master wouldn't have taken such a risk. It was too scary. Swoosh, swoosh. Facing the cicada wing flying daggers coming from all directions, Jiang Tian only snorted coldly and let out a demonic dragon roar. "Too many!" Along with this shout, a vast golden true essence with Jiang Tian as the center surged out like raging waves crashing against the shore. This true essence was no longer in a gaseous state. Instead, it was viscous like golden liquid and heavy like gold. It was like a golden landslide had erupted, and it carried an aura of obliteration as it swept through the surroundings. Those flying daggers were instantly destroyed when they came in contact with the true essence. In the end, they exploded out of thin air. What? Gong Yile's body shook violently as he was hit by the true essence. He was so angry that he wanted to die. He quickly retreated 100 meters away. But in the end, he couldn't take it anymore. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. After breaking the flying daggers with a roar, Jiang Tian waved his right hand and slashed at the golden staff as if he was drawing a knife to cut water. Crack! Jiang Tian's dazzling golden light was 50 to 60 feet long. It was as thin as a thin thread, and it slashed towards the golden Buddhist staff. At this moment, the golden staff had already transformed into a 10-meter-long staff. It was like a Skanda Bodhisattva swinging down a Vajra staff, suppressing a group of demons and subduing a demon god. Even a tall building would be smashed to pieces. This Vajra pestle of Tantric Buddhism was unique and contained the power of faith. As the Buddhist scriptures revolved, it could continuously condense the energy of heaven and earth, increasing its power tenfold. It was comparable to an immortal spell. Wu Chen relied on this lost art to move unhindered in the Tibetan area for decades. He cut the path, robbed, and specialized in killing martial artists and warlocks. He was always successful. This also led to his illustrious fame. He was known as "If Kunlun does not appear, who can compete?" Break! In response, Jiang Tian chuckled disdainfully. The Gingjin Qi weapon struck the Vajra of Tantra. To everyone's astonishment, the golden Qi weapon cut the demon-subduing pestle in half like a hot knife cutting butter. Then the uncontrollable spiritual force, true Qi, and scripture spells exploded with a loud bang. They formed golden rings of air with a diameter of 100 meters and pushed out in all directions. Fraud, what spiritual force? It's all resentment of souls. Jiang Tian chuckled disdainfully and pointed out the key point. A simple sentence actually shocked Master Wu Chen so much that he was dumbfounded. His face was covered in cold sweat, and he almost turned around and ran. Master Wu Chen was originally an expert in cutting the path and robbing. He was a habitual offender of killing and robbing. He was a fierce fiend. There were only a dozen disciples under his wing who gathered for profit. There were no loyal believers or worshippers. Although he had obtained the Vajra pestle, he could not condense spiritual force at all. So he did the opposite. After capturing people, he pulled out their tendons, skinned them, and tortured them in all kinds of ways. He collected many souls and refined them with a secret method to disguise them as Buddhist light and spiritual force to form an offensive force. But his secret method of disguise was very clever. He had been killing for a dozen years and no one had discovered it. Now that Jiang Tian had seen through it, how could he not be shocked and fearful? At this moment, Chen Onping's black snake sword Qi also pierced through. The inheritance is not bad. But in your hands, it can't even use 1/10 of its combat strength. In response, Jiang Tian laughed. He raised his right hand in a seemingly slow manner and flicked his finger. Clang! A gunmetal sword Qi spread out like a fan. Every sword Qi was so condensed that it seemed to be cast from gold. It was so dazzling that no one dared to look directly at it. What was more frightening was that it was carved with supreme Tao patterns that contained the laws of heaven and earth. It was so sharp that it could destroy all life and cut through heaven and earth. Clang! clang, 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 clang. The black snake sword chi instantly shattered into countless pieces, and the spirit turtle shield also cracked. Chen Onping only felt that the true martial seal in his hand was shaking violently, almost flying out of his hand. Then, he felt that his hand was lighter. How is this possible? He looked down and was shocked to find that the Dharma treasure that had been passed down for hundreds of years had been reduced to dust. Only yours still has some skill. But it's still far from a real flying sword. Facing Sid Yuanhao's flying sword, Jiang Tian laughed and punched out. This punch was like an antelope's horn. It was untraceable, but it had a natural feeling. Jiang Tian's punch landed on the tip of the sword. Under Sid Yuanhao's shocked gaze, the star competition sword, which could pierce through tanks and cut through ships, suddenly shattered like a piece of paper. The broken pieces of the sword danced in the air like butterflies and slowly fell to the ground. Sid Yuanhao's face turned as white as paper. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed and he almost fell from the sky. It's just the sword controlling technique. Your sword can't even move or kill on its own. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and mockingly. The ancient Wu Dang sect's dojo was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Only the wind was blowing. All the spectators were flabbergasted, and they stood there without moving as if they were made of clay or wood. After Jiang Tian made his move, he bellowed, flicked his finger, waved his hand, and punched out casually. However, he defeated the joint attack of two peak god state experts, a half-step human immortal, and a human immortal. It was like a legend. Suddenly, everyone gasped. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. That's terrifying. A Wu Dang sect leader was so scared that his legs trembled. What is his level of cultivation? I don't think a half-step mortal deity is this powerful. Indeed, he is much more powerful than he was when he fought with Zhang Qianlei. Did he break through again? Is he a real mortal deity? How is that possible? The elders outside the encirclement all exclaimed in shock and fear, as if they had seen a ghost. Deep in their hearts, there were some jealousy and resentment that they didn't want to admit. The semi-hidden sects had a long history and a deep heritage. The treasures, books, medicines, and herbs that had been accumulated over hundreds and thousands of years were as vast as the sea, and there were simply too many to count. It was not something that the martial arts families in the mortal world could compare with. That was why most of the semi-hidden sects were so powerful that any one of them could suppress the Huaxiaolong formation. However, for people like them who had such good resources and cultivated for decades, it was already a great fortune for them to reach the transcendent state. Being able to step into the god realm was even rarer. To be able to become an elder, they would be second only to one person and above everyone else, making the sect leader think highly of them. As for reaching the mortal deity level, it was even more unimaginable. It was enough to look down on the world and dominate the world. But Jiang Tian, he was an ordinary man from the mortal world who was born in an ordinary family with no martial arts heritage. He could reach the mortal deity level after cultivating for only 3 years. Damn it, compared to him, we have been cultivating for so many years. How infuriating! Brothers, kneel down and beg for old Zhang's mercy. In the distance, Zhang Qianlei put his hands on his waist and laughed. I don't even want to watch anymore. You guys are definitely not Jiang Tian's match. It's not worth watching. Master has become so powerful. He is like a god. Tang Linglong's face was filled with awe and admiration. Her worry gradually turned into excitement. She waved her fist and said, Master, come on, beat them. He is so powerful. He is just like the true god in the legends. Further away, Superman Li, He Hongqian, Wan Qili and the other tycoons looked at Jiang Tian with awe and admiration, as if they had seen the arrival of God. Sigh, 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 sigh. We were too arrogant in the car. If only we could have befriended him. Many people felt a pang of regret in their hearts. He is definitely more powerful than Yi Tianren when he was at his peak. He must be killed. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. The four masters who were fighting Jiang Tian in the air looked at each other with shock and fear in their eyes. They did not expect Jiang Tian to be so powerful. The four of them besieged him but were easily defeated by him. However, their fighting spirit gradually surged and their eyes were filled with greed. This person is so powerful. He must have the inheritance of the ruins of immortality, or he is the reincarnation of an old demon. It seems that Kong Teichu's inheritance is far more powerful than ours. As long as we can get his inheritance, we will definitely be able to become a celestial immortal. Their eyes gradually became firm. A monstrous fighting spirit rose into the sky, causing the wind and thunder to surge. Everyone, you have made your move. I, Kong Teichu, have not made my move yet. Give it a try. Jiang Tian flicked his right finger and the black flying sword floated in the air. He stood proudly in the void with his hands behind his back and said with a faint smile, I will show you a real flying sword. Don't let him use his flying sword. The four of them were shocked when they saw this. With a shout, they rushed towards Jiang Tian in a bid to be the first to use their killing moves. Chapter 677. Kill! Gong Yile shouted as his face turned red. His hands trembled as he made a hand seal. Suddenly, within a kilometer of the surrounding area, the majestic heaven and earth spiritual chi rolled, and numerous cicada wing flying daggers were condensed one after another. In an instant, thousands of cicada wing flying daggers appeared, forming a 10-meter-long flying dagger dragon. It was so densely packed that it covered the sky and swept toward Jiang Tian. Flying daggers, 1,000 cicadas. This was the secret art of the Gong family. It focused on quantity and quality. A single flying dagger could kill a transcendent grandmaster, not to mention there were over 1,000 of them. Master Wuchen's lips moved quickly as he murmured a Buddhist mantra and took out a golden alms bowl. Plink. As soon as this alms bowl appeared, it immediately soared into the air and flew above Jiang Tian. The mouth of the alms bowl released 10,000 rays of Buddhist light, and it actually had a kind of open and righteous, mighty and dignified charm. There were scriptures flashing inside and each word seemed to be carved out of gold. They flew toward Jiang Tian. The treasure of the Padala Palace, the golden alms bowl. It's in Master Wuchen's hands. Someone who knew the alms bowl widened his eyes and exclaimed. This treasure had a great background. It was personally crafted by a living Buddha of the Qing dynasty using the methods of Tantric Buddhism. It was further refined by several reincarnated living Buddhas and eminent monks for 100 years. It contained great aspirations, great merit, and great wisdom, and its powers were overwhelming. In the past 100 years, the eminent monks of the Padala Palace had used this treasure to vanquish demons. Swish! Sid Yuanhao's face darkened as his eyes flashed with killing intent. He smacked the back of his head like a crazy gambler and spat out a 3-inch sword. The sword was as red as blood and carried a wicked energy. It was engraved with complicated patterns. The small sword paused in the air for a moment, then it suddenly became bigger. It was like a blood rainbow piercing through the sun. It let out a strange howl as it flew toward Jiang Tian. This was the blood sword art of the Lin family. It was similar to the Dharma sword art of the Shu Mountain sect. However, his Dharma sword art was much more powerful than by Tianlei's. The speed of the Dharma sword was close to the speed of sound. Brother Situ, you have to be careful. Kong Teichu is not easy to deal with. Seeing that Sidi Yuanhao had even taken out his natal blood sword, Chen Anping was shocked. He waved his hands and dozens of small green swords appeared in front of him, ready to attack. Swish! As expected, Jiang Tian flicked his finger. A streak of finger light turned into a streak of golden light. It was extremely sharp and pierced through Gong Yile's 1,000 cicadas, with unstoppable momentum. Crack! Crack! The sound of the cicada's wing flying daggers cracked. The cicada wing flying daggers crumbled like paper, and then exploded uncontrollably. The cicada wing flying daggers that were still intact formed a huge wave that danced in the air. Impossible! Gong Yile's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw the golden finger aura was about to reach his forehead. As he retreated like a meteor, he hurriedly waved his hands and pulled out 7 or 8 magic tools to protect his body. At the same time, he also summoned his protective aura in an attempt to block this sharp blow. During the era of the Republic of China, the 9-story pagoda was on par with the Lan Yi Society, the Hong sect, and the Green Gang. Over the years, they had suppressed Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, and plundered as much as they could. These artifacts were very powerful, and each of them could withstand the blast of a cannon. They were no less powerful than Miyamoto Geniki's protective artifacts. He had reached the peak of the immortal state many years ago and was even more powerful than Geniki Miyamoto and Bai Tianlei. However, under Jiang Tian's little black flying sword that had been refined many times, whether it was a heaven-defying Dharma artifact or a protective aura, they all exploded in an instant. The golden finger aura pierced through the Dharma artifacts and 4 righteousness shield like a bolt of golden lightning and pierced through his head. His head exploded like a rotten watermelon. Amidst the mist of blood and brain matter, his body instantly became skin and bones, shriveled up like a dried corpse. Blood gushed out of his neck and was completely sucked out by the golden finger aura. Even his divine soul was swallowed by the golden finger aura in the blink of an eye. He had killed an immortal state warrior with 1 finger. I can't believe the power of 1 finger is so terrifying. Seeing this, many people were scared out of their wits and felt a chill run down their spines. In an instant, the expressions of many Wudong disciples and the reinforcements of the semi-hidden sects who were watching the battle changed drastically. Cold sweat poured down their backs as if they had seen a demon god. Gong Yile was Yi Tianren's peer. He was at the peak of the immortal state and was even more famous than Wang Chongyan. However, he was killed by Jiang Tian's finger. It was just like a legend. It was incredible. Kong Teichu's cultivation is improving by leaps and bounds. Someone said with big drops of cold sweat on his forehead. Everyone still remembered that Jiang Tian had a hard time fighting Bai Tianlei and Hao Hongmei, who were at the peak of the immortal state, a year ago. But now, he could easily crush them. Jiang Tian's cultivation was terrifying, but what was even more terrifying was that he had been constantly growing and improving rapidly. Even Zhang Qianlei secretly clicked his tongue, thinking that he would never be able to break Jiang Tian's finger. Cling. At this time, Wuchen's alchemy gold alms bowl pressed down with a kind of destructive Buddhist power. It was as if Buddha had slapped down the 5-finger mountain. Many palaces below Jiang Tian were the first to bear the brunt of the impact and collapsed. Smoke and dust billowed and the airwaves were discharged. The ground paved with thick bluestone cracked and sunk, forming a huge pit with a radius of 10 meters and a depth of more than 1 meter. Seizing the esoteric sect's Buddhist treasure, turning the spiritual power of the eminent monk for your own use, and borrowing external forces like this, it's just a small trick after all. However, Jiang Tian, who was under great pressure, had a contemptuous look in his eyes. His long black hair fluttered like a waterfall, and his long robe fluttered. Obviously, he still had some strength left. At this time, he was bathed in thousands of golden Buddhist light. His whole body was shining brightly, and he was calm and composed, as if a real god had descended. Clang. Jiang Tian was simple and straightforward. He punched toward the sky. A gunmetal divine fist, which contained Dao patterns, shot out like a cannonball and instantly smashed the alchemy gold alms bowl. Under Jiang Tian's fist, the monstrous Buddhist light, the power of will, the secret spell scriptures, and even the alms bowl itself collapsed in an instant, turning into fragments dancing in the air. What? This man is too strong. Run quickly. Seeing this, Master Wuchen was scared out of his wits, as if he had seen a devil. With his Dharma treasure broken, he had no more powerful means. Just as he was about to retreat, Jiang Tian had already stepped into the air, and his jade-white palm clapped in the air. Boom! A giant golden palm, more than 10 meters long, descended from the sky and slapped toward Master Wuchen. This giant golden palm was surrounded by many Dao patterns and secret spells. It emitted thousands of golden lights, flowing with brilliant colors and dazzling. It was condensed and real as if it was carved out of gold, and the palm lines were clearly visible. Just like the Buddha Lord in the Journey to the West, exorcism, slapping a giant palm at Sun Wukong. It could destroy a city with one palm and shake a mountain with one finger. This was the characteristic of the late-stage Qi refinement realm. Their cultivation techniques were in accordance with the heavenly Tao, and they could condense Tao patterns with every movement. They could continuously absorb the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth, increasing the lethality of their attacks. My life is over. Seeing this, Master Wuchen was so shocked that he was going crazy. He suddenly shattered all the Zi beads on his wrist. Suddenly, countless golden talismans burst out, and the Buddhist light filled the air. In the blink of an eye, 8 dense and heavy defensive shields were formed. The Zi beads were extremely rare 9-eyed elephant Zi beads. They had thousands of years of deep heritage and were extremely ancient and vicissitudes of life. They had also been blessed by several accomplished eminent monks in Tantric Buddhism and had been engraved with countless protective spells. Each spell had deep Dharma power and could withstand artillery attacks and missile bursts, not to mention so many spells. Master Wuchen thought that even if he was hit by a mortal immortal, the Zi beads could at least protect him for a while. But the dream was very rich, the reality was very thin. Bang, bang, bang. In the muffled sound of cannonballs exploding, the 8 light shields exploded one by one. Master Wuchen could no longer withstand the violent pressure and fell to the ground like a toad. Even if he struggled and screamed crazily, or used Buddhist divine powers to try to stop it, it was useless. It only took a breath. Boom. The giant golden palm pressed down like Mount Tai, directly smashing his invincible Vajra body into meat paste and sinking a few meters into the ground. Billowing blood, broken bones, muscle fibers, and internal organs emerged from the gaps of the fingers. The invincible Master Wuchen, who is said to be invincible as long as Kunlun doesn't show up, died just like that? Everyone present gasped and their eyes were filled with shock and fear. They couldn't believe it. But everything in front of them was incomparable and they couldn't refute it. Jiang Tian killed 2 peak-stage immortal state warriors with a finger, a punch, and a palm. Although he showed the black flying sword, he didn't use it at all. From beginning to end, he only used his pure true essence and physical strength to kill people. He didn't use any tricks at all. In the blink of an eye, Siddha Yuanhao's Dharma sword had already arrived. At this time, his Dharma sword had been infused with his blood and it had reached 3 feet long, like a crimson rainbow. It was surging with blood Qi, sword aura and sword intent. In the sky, dark clouds rolled, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The energy of heaven and earth was restless. This blood-colored magic sword was like a blood-colored flying dragon that furiously slashed through the 9 heavens. It crossed a distance of several hundred meters and suddenly arrived. Its terrifying aura was already earth-shattering. How powerful! His murderous intent is extremely terrifying. The expressions of all the experts present changed when they saw this. Even Zhang Qianlei had a worried expression on his face. Jiang Taichu, even if you have the cultivation base of a human immortal, even if you're a peerless genius, you'll still have to die on the spot when you meet my blood-condensed magic sword. Back then, the father of the nation, Sun Wen's bodyguards were taught by me personally. I used to drink with the father of the nation. Even Yi Tianren's cultivation is on par with mine. You little brat, even if you're lucky and have some strength, how can you be my opponent? Siddha Yuanhao gritted his teeth and shouted as his white hair fluttered. After drawing out 90% of his blood essence, his cheeks were dry and his skin was dry. His hair was much whiter, as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. However, his eyes were abnormally excited and there was a hint of bloodthirst in them. This was the Dharma sword that came from the mortal deity's blood essence. It was activated to the extreme and sublimated to the extreme. Siddha Yuanhao was confident that this sword could easily kill a half-step mortal deity. Even if they were both human immortals, they would not be a match for such a crazy fighting style. They would not dare to clash head-on and could only retreat. Chapter 678. Sigh. Brother Situ, you are too impatient. If we really kill him, how are we going to get his ultimate cultivation art? Some of the Wudong elders thumped their chests and stamped their feet. They all thought that Jiang Tian would be killed by Situ Yuanhao's attack. However, they were disappointed that they would not be able to get Jiang Tian's cultivation art. In the end, Brother Situ came out on top in this battle. Chen Anping shook his head and let out a wry smile. He was envious of Situ Yuanhao. He was a half-step mortal deity and was able to stand toe-to-toe with Zhang Qianlei. However, compared to Situ Yuanhao, he was still a far cry from him. Killing him is much more worth it than obtaining his cultivation technique. You pedantic fools will never understand. Although Situ Yuanhao's breathing was weak, he was still smiling confidently. At this moment, he was like a crazy gambler, betting his entire life's cultivation, all of his chips, just to kill Jiang Tian. Right now, Jiang Tian's fame was too great. He was the top of the power rankings and his prowess shook the entire world. He hunted down an entire country alone and suppressed the entire world alone. Killing Kong Teichu would bring him a lot of benefits. Situ Yuanhao would become famous after this battle. All the overlords in the world would submit to him, and the Hong sect would rise again after decades of silence. As for the cultivation art, it was secondary to him. After killing Jiang Tian, no one would be able to threaten him and the Hong sect. Do you really think that you can kill me with your blood essence sword? Jiang Tian sneered at Situ Yuanhao. Suddenly, a golden light shone from his eyes. It was as if a divine lamp had been lit, illuminating the past, present, and future. It was as if one could ascend to the heavens and descend to the underworld. The wind blew and the clouds moved. At this instant, Jiang Tian's aura skyrocketed all of a sudden, as if an immortal emperor had just awakened, as if a supreme god who had mastered all the Daos of the past and present had just awakened. The energy was too terrifying. In the sky above the Wudang mountain, the clouds within a 10-mile radius swirled into a funnel-shaped whirlpool. The magic sword that Situ Yuanhao had formed with his blood, as well as the dark clouds and lightning caused by the activation of his cultivation method, were all destroyed in an instant. How? How is this possible? Situ Yuanhao's heart skipped a beat. His eyes widened and he almost fell from the sky. That was a mortal deity's blood essence sword. How powerful was it? Situ Yuanhao reckoned that even if Heavenly Yi from a few decades ago saw this sword, he would also be terrified and avoid it to some extent. Jiang Tian didn't attack. He was just gathering his energy. However, the qi of heaven and earth that was triggered caused the blood-nourished sword that he had painstakingly condensed to shatter. Just how powerful was Jiang Tian's cultivation? Free will among the human immortals? Limitless? Limitless? Peak-level immortal? Situ Yuanhao was beyond imagination. He was so shocked that he forgot to run away and attack again. He just stood in the air in a daze, as if he had seen a god. At this moment, even the tourists of Mount Wuqian and the residents of the nearby towns were shocked by this scene. Look, there's an alien. A little girl tugged at her hot mom who was paying and pointed excitedly at the golden light in the direction of the back of the mountain. Silly child, have you become stupid from watching too much anime? The hot mother handed the candied haws to her daughter while looking at the back of the mountain. The candied haws fell to the ground halfway. Hot mom was so shocked that she was dumbfounded. Oh my, what's that on the back of the mountain? Is that the Zhenwu Great Emperor? At this moment, many tourists saw this golden light and cried out in surprise, craning their necks to look. On the other side. Damn, what's that? In Shiyan City, in Danjianka City, many pedestrians and cars suddenly stopped and looked at the void a few kilometers away. This scene was too shocking and bizarre. A huge cyclone appeared and spun slowly. It had a heart-palpitating beauty that made people think of supernatural phenomena. They took pictures and recorded videos. On the back of the mountain, Jiang Tian took a step into the air and turned into a huge pillar of light. Golden light filled the air and shot into the clouds. Mom, it must be an alien UFO. At Wuqian Mountain, the little girl pointed at the golden pillar of light that pierced through the heavens and earth. On the other hand, Hot Mom's face was filled with shock as she trembled. Damn, is there really an alien? Has the apocalypse come early? There's still some time until 2012. In Danjiangka City, a couple interlocked their fingers. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. Recently, there's a legend about the birth of a god on the internet, but it's been deleted. Let's see what they have to say this time. A reporter picked up his camera and pressed the shutter crazily. He was extremely excited. He didn't expect to see it this time. Hurry up and take a picture. It'll definitely go viral on the internet. In the school, a group of high school students jumped up and down excitedly. They held their phones and fought to take pictures. You drank with the founding father, and your cultivation is about the same as Yi Tianren's. Do you think you're amazing? That's why you're so smug? The world is so big. How can a frog at the bottom of a well like you imagine it? How can the cultivation of Jiang Taichu be something that an ant like you can spy on? You want to kill me? You're overestimating yourself. Neil. Jiang Tian stepped into the sky and reached a height of several hundred meters. Then, with a shout, his foot pierced through the clouds and tore through the sky. From the outside, it looked like the golden pillar of light that had shot into the sky had suddenly descended and smashed into the back of Wudong Mountain. Soon after, rings of golden cloud rings rippled and pushed outwards, covering a radius of more than 10 miles, including the entire back mountain of Wudong. The scene was even more shocking in the eyes of the people who bore the brunt of the impact. Boom! As Jiang Tian stomped his foot, the air trembled, and golden light filled the air. It was extremely dazzling. It was like a nuclear explosion. No one dared to look at it directly. Many people could not help but close their eyes. The foot that descended from the sky was aimed at Sitiyuanhao, but it affected everything within a radius of a few kilometers. Rumble. The ground within a radius of a few kilometers was like a beating drum, causing the continuous palaces to tremble violently. Huge waves surged in the calm lake. The towering trees were broken and turned into dust. The wood fibers danced like snow. The basin-sized rocks rolled on the ground like plastic bubbles and scattered in all directions. The power of a single kick is terrifying to such an extent. Terrifying. Sect leader, we're no match for him. Watch out, Brother Situ. Chen Anping and the 8th elder of Wudong sect screamed. Their faces changed drastically as if they were grieving for their parents. They were 200 to 300 meters away from the center of the attack, but they were still blown dozens of meters away by the gusts of wind like catkins in the wind. Their faces changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with fear. They were so scared that their breathing stopped. The violent pressure seemed capable of destroying the heavens and the earth, and it pressed down on them to the point they almost spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. What is his cultivation base? Even though Chen Anping was a half-step human deity, he still felt as if his chest was being hammered by a heavy hammer. He could not even stand properly. He was so shocked that he felt as if he had seen a ghost. His body is emitting boundless light and he has a Vajra-glazed body. Could it be that he has reached the earth deity level and is comparable to the Buddha? He's not even 30 years old and he's already an earth deity. How is that possible? At that moment, his eyes were filled with fear, shock, envy, jealousy, and disbelief. He could not help but think of all the rumors about Jiang Tian. He wondered if Chen Fan was really the reincarnation of the old demon. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? Meanwhile, no one in Wudong Mountain and Shiyuan City knew what was going on. Why is my cell phone screen white? There's no signal. Fuck. My camera is broken too. Does that golden light have electromagnetic waves? But it's 10 to 20 kilometers away. Everyone exclaimed and cursed. However, there were even more people who were watching this scene in horror. It was too shocking and terrifying. It must be the Zhenwu Great Emperor. Many people even kowtowed in the direction of Wudong Mountain, thinking that a deity had appeared. Faced with such a powerful kick, Sitiyuanhao did not even have the chance to dodge it. I can't run away? At that moment he was horrified. It was as if he was trapped by some kind of spatial energy. His body felt like it was stuck in an invisible glue. It was difficult for him to move. You can't become an earth deity. You're just an early-stage human deity. You can't kill me. In a moment of desperation, Sidi Yuanhao shouted. Like a mad tiger, he unleashed all the skills he had learned in his life. Sidi Yuanhao used all kinds of techniques. He made a series of hand seals and activated all his protective dermic artifacts. Dazzling rays of light blossomed as layer after layer of thick stellar energy spread out. There were all kinds of runes flowing on the earth chi like a canopy of clouds and a golden bell that protected his body. Eagle come. In the end, he let out a loud roar and summoned the huge falcon. Screech. The eagle let out a sharp screech and flapped its wings. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, sending the roof tiles flying and the buildings collapsing. The giant eagle soared into the sky and charged at Jiang Tian as if it was going to protect its master. Frog in the well. Summer insects can't talk about ice. Jiang Tian's black hair fluttered like a waterfall. His body emitted a golden light. He looked like a lofty god of war. His face was full of disdain. You're just an ant. How would you know what I'm capable of? How would you know what I'm capable of? My cultivation isn't something you can guess. Jiang Tian shouted in a mocking tone as he descended from the sky. His foot tore through the clouds as he descended. The air burned and the void vibrated. His foot was like a missile that could penetrate the ground. Its power was unimaginable. Under Jiang Tian's foot, Sidi Yuanhao's dermic artifacts, all kinds of protective dermic artifacts, and even the blood-red qi shield that he had activated were all useless. Bam, bam, bam. His dermic artifacts shattered one by one. All kinds of light shields trembled and exploded. The giant eagle was like a chicken that had been hit by a baseball bat. It flew dozens of meters away. Its feathers flew everywhere. It screamed and died. Sidi Yuanhao was stomped into the dust by Jiang Tian's foot. Blood gushed out and pieces of his organs splattered. His chest was pierced by Jiang Tian's foot, and he screamed in pain. He stomped a mortal deity with one foot. Oh my God! Is he still human? I'm afraid only real deities and deities can do that. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They couldn't believe it. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Chapter 679. This was Sidi Yuanhao. He was the leader of the Hong sect and had more than 100,000 disciples. During the Republic of China, even Du Yuexing had to greet him respectfully. He was able to drink and chat with Mr. Sun Wen and intimidate half of Huaxia. His esteemed status was built on the foundation of his powerful cultivation. He was the disciple of the Hong sect's ancestral master, Sidu Shao, and had reached the immortal state decades ago. Even someone as talented as Yi Tianren might be able to defeat him, but they should be on par. There was no way Qin Fan could have defeated Sidi Yuanhao so easily. What? Sidi Yuanhao is no match for him. Today, we have made a mistake that will cause everlasting regret. We have made a huge mistake. Chen Anping could not believe what he had just seen. He had inherited the Wudong orthodoxy, thus he was quite knowledgeable. He immediately noticed that Jiang Tian's tremendous strength and flesh were the strongest among the earth immortals in the records. Only the legendary grand sky deities and perfected golden deities could possess such terrifying power. Even Hao Taichong, the sect master of Kunlun, and Yi Tianren of Hongmeng were no match for Jiang Tian. There were only a handful of people in the entire semi-hidden faction that could defeat Jiang Tian. Even the brain-headed Taoist, who was imprisoned in the cliff cave, was not as powerful as Jiang Tian when he was at his peak. He knew that Jiang Tian had displayed the power of an early-stage mortal deity during his battle with Zhang Qianlei. Therefore, he believed that he, the Grand Elder, and the human immortal Sidi Yuanhao would be able to kill Jiang Tian as easily as chopping vegetables. To his surprise, Jiang Tian's qi, cultivation arts, and physique were all signs of an earth-level deity. In less than a year, he had crossed the mortal deity and earth-level deity. Was he still human? Chen Anping could not help but complain. Kong Teichu, I will not let you get away with this. If I don't take revenge for this, I won't be a man. At this time, Sid Yuanhao could not hold on any longer. With a roar, his body suddenly exploded. His divine soul turned into a blood rainbow and disappeared in a flash. In the blink of an eye, he was already several kilometers away. DK, bad people die because they talk too much. Jiang Tian laughed. The golden lake at the center of his forehead rippled, and the golden armored general leaped out. The golden armored divine general flashed and turned into a sharp golden light, piercing through like a bolt of lightning. Sid Yuanhao screamed miserably. The blood-colored soul avatar was shattered by the golden-armored divine general's saber. It was devoured and absorbed in the blink of an eye. This was the true annihilation of both body and soul. Even if the gods were here, they would not be able to help him reconstruct his physical body. Wudong 9 Palace's 8 trigram sword, combined attack, immortal slaying sword. When he saw this scene, Chen Anping was terrified to the point the hairs on his entire body stood on end, and he shouted out explosively before attacking without holding back in the slightest. You want to use the immortal slaying sword? The sect leader is fighting like a madman. That will cost us half of our blood essence, and it will take 10 years for us to recover our cultivation. There is no other way. If we don't kill him, there will be endless trouble in the future. Let's kill him. In a blink, the 8 elders moved. Together with Chen Anping, they chanted spells and waved the swords in their hands at the same time. This sword art was the treasure of the Wudang Mountain and was a secret art passed down from generation to generation. The elders' sword techniques were fast and slow, hard and soft at the same time. The sword followed the body and the body carried the sword. They combined form and will and chi and soul. In the 6 harmonies, the eyes, body, dharma, art, soul, and form were all profound. Some elders moved like dragons out of the water, some were as quiet as a cat catching a mouse. Their hands were divided into yin and yang, their bodies were filled with the 8 trigrams, and their steps were filled with the 9 palaces. The swords in their hands hooked, pointed, flicked, stabbed, raised, and slashed. Every move and every wisp of sword intent contained hundreds of years of history and could easily kill a transcendent grandmaster with earth-shattering power. Suddenly, the spirit chi of heaven and earth gathered crazily. The spirit chi of heaven and earth within a few miles was sucked dry and formed 9 sharp chi blades in the air. Once the sword of deity is formed, Kong Te Chu, even if you are an earth-level deity, you will die. Then, Chen Anping threatened in a deep voice. If you know when to stop, then let's forget about this and we will mind our own business. The next step of the sword art was to refine the blood essence. This would consume a lot of energy for each of them. Even if they could kill Jiang Tian, it would be a loss they couldn't bear. I have also thought of settling this peacefully, but now I have changed my mind. I will destroy the Wudang sect. Jiang Tian sneered. Destroy the Wudang sect? Chen Anping was so angry that he cracked a smile. He shouted, Kong Te Chu, how dare you? Do you really think the Wudang sect is a nobody? His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he cracked a vicious smile. I'll let your blood splatter on the spot and accompany Sid Yuanhao, Wu Chen, and a few other old friends. Together. As soon as he said that, the 8 elders spat out a mouthful of blood onto their chi swords, dyeing them blood red. Together. In the end, everyone shouted. The 9 swords suddenly flashed and merged into one, turning into a giant sword that was 50 feet long. The sword, which had been refined with the blood essence, floated in front of Chen Anping. It was crystal clear and flashed with a red light. But in fact, it was full of blood chi and was extremely sharp. It was so powerful that it could even flatten a mountain. This sword can kill an earth-level deity. In the end, Chen Anping shouted and spat out a mouthful of blood essence on the deity-slaying sword. Suddenly, his face turned pale and his skin suddenly dried up. He seemed to have aged dozens of years in an instant. But the red light of the deity-slaying sword shone 100 meters in all directions and it became even more powerful. Kill! 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 In the midst of the 9 violent and ruthless roars, The deity-slaying sword suddenly turned into a crimson light and shot towards Jiang Tian. Chen Onping thought that this sword could kill a real Earth-level deity. Zhang Qianlei, Zeus, Hao Taichong Yitianren and the sect master of Kunlun would be annihilated. You want to kill me with such a crude joint attack? You're really daydreaming. Jiang Tian chuckled and used the flying sword for the first time. The joint attack of the 9 elders was indeed very primitive. Their blood essence and the condensed spirit chi of heaven and earth couldn't be completely merged and could only double their combat power. But considering that the 8 elders were all peak-stage immortal state warriors and Qin Anping was a half-step human deity, this attack was at least comparable to an attack from an earth-level deity. Jiang Tian decided not to hold back and went all out. In fact, Jiang Tian's true essence was a few times more powerful than that of a half-step human deity. But his divine body had reached phenomenal success and he had many divine powers, dharma spells and Xiao Hei's flying sword. Besides, his true essence was much more condensed than true qi. This increased his combat power by 100 times and he could at least kill a human deity. Swish! Xiao Hei's flying sword was activated by Jiang Tian's immortal will. It immediately turned into a ray of dark light and shot towards the deity-slaying sword. The dark light burst out like a shooting star. Waves of shrill sword whistles converged into a deafening roar, as if a fighter jet was tearing through the sky. Qin Anping shouted and formed a hand seal. The deity-slaying sword shone brightly. Like a blood-red dragon soaring into the sky, it clashed with Jiang Tian's little black flying sword. Bang! It was as if a few tons of explosives had been ignited. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, the deity-slaying blood sword exploded. Blood-colored aura shot out violently, and a surging shockwave blasted out in all directions like raging waves. Boom! Palaces and buildings collapsed one after another, turning into broken walls and ruins. Rumble! One by one, the fake mountains and strange rocks shattered, and the rubble pierced through the air. Crack! Towering trees were snapped one after another and turned into fine powder, sweeping up thousands of piles of snow. Xiao Hei's flying sword paused in the air. Jiang Tian's figure didn't move at all, and his expression was calm and relaxed. His sleeves fluttered lightly, and it was obvious that he still had energy left. As for Qin Anping and the 8 elders, their bodies shook violently, and they staggered back a few steps. Then, their faces swelled, and they spat out a mouthful of blood. This kind of attack was formed with the blood essence and was connected to the soul energy of the user. Once the attack failed, the user would suffer a cruel backlash. How is that possible? The deity-slaying sword has been broken. Then they couldn't believe it. They screamed as if they had seen a ghost. No one has been able to break the deity-slaying combined attack since the Wu Dang sect was founded 1,000 years ago. And yet, he broke it so easily. Even an Earth-level deity would have to avoid the deity-slaying sword. What is his flying sword made of? What kind of cultivation art does he practice to make it so powerful? It's so scary. He is the reincarnation of an old demon. Before the 9 elders could react, Jiang Tianzong let out a long laugh and said coldly, "Again!" Swish! The little black flying sword that had paused for a moment suddenly accelerated, charging towards Chen Anping at a speed faster than lightning. Master Kong, stop. I admit defeat. Chen Anping's face was pale. He screamed and retreated. He wanted to beg for mercy. But it was too late. Xiao Hei's flying sword flew to his neck in the blink of an eye and wrapped around his neck. Swish! Blood gushed out of Chen Anping's neck. His head flew high in an instant. Bang! The headless body fell to the ground. Sect Master! The 8 elders were filled with despair and terror when they saw this, and their faces went pale as they let out shrill cries of shock as if they had lost their parents. Retreat! Like stray dogs, they fled in all directions, each of them trying their best to escape. Jiang Tian killed a mortal immortal. He broke the combined attack of 8 immortal state warriors and a half-step human immortal with one sword. That kind of cultivation was too terrifying. It was not something they could resist at all. If they didn't run now, when would they be killed by Jiang Tian? As for the treasures left by the ancient Wudong sect, They were also very distressed. But at this time, what was more important than saving their lives? Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. In this battle, a mortal immortal, a half-step human immortal, and 2 peak-stage immortal state warriors had died. It was earth-shattering. But in fact, it all happened in just a few minutes. Jiang Tian killed madly along the way, slaying gods and killing immortals like chopping vegetables. How terrifying Jiang Tian's strength was. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.